everybody! And we're back for week 3 of Blue Rose Flower JONQUIL. I'm so excited to be here for another week of this, and I hope everyone's had a good Friday and is ready for an amazing game of social intrigue, politicizing, royal courts, and a fair amount of backstabbing. My name's Anthony, and you can find me on Twitter at Prainntheplague. I stream a lot here on Weave the Tale. This is my home base, and I'm always up to something on Weave the Tale. Of course, I stream Blue Rose every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. I also do Symborum on Mondays at 8:30 Eastern, and I'm usually in a one-shot on Wednesday. For example, next week, running Shadows over Soul, and the week after that, playing in Masks. So quite a bit on Weave the Tale. Check it out. There's so much amazing content, and I'm really excited to get into another week of this West Marches. But before I do, I have to go ahead and introduce my amazing cast, starting with Mr. Smith.
Oh, hello. I am Mr. Smith. You can find me in the Twitterverse at Mr_Smith. I'm usually found over on our sister channel, Penny for a Tale, every Sunday evening, playing Pathfinder 2e, Age of Ashes. Tonight, I am joining these wonderful group of people to get into some skullduggery and shenaniganery on the political front. But, yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Yay! Next up is going to be Pope.
Hey everybody, Pope here, Popeworldbuild on Twitter, Popeworldbuild on Twitch. I lurk in all your streams. If you want to see more of my ridiculous face, you get a number of opportunities throughout the week. Mostly here on Weave the Tale. Aside from the wonderful festivities tonight, which I'm super excited about, you can catch me and someone else on your screen currently for some good doggos on Sundays, 3 p.m. Eastern here on Weave the Tale, for some Pugmire, What Lies Buried. And then Monday nights, I join Anthony for some horror in the cold, dark north, Symborum. We'll see if we survive. We're taking the holiday off. Some levity, and then we'll be back, and I'm probably going to be screaming by the end of it. So, yeah, tune in for that. And then if you want to see something completely different, you can catch me on Wednesdays over on Follow Black Cats for Hexcrawl, the spy game, and Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Valdrin's channel for Defiant, where I play a reformed devil, if there is such a thing.
There definitely is, and that Symborum game is equally scary. I am very definitely into something in that game, and I cannot wait to get back and see what becomes of me. It's not going to be good. Next up, we have the Dido with the amazing cosplay words. Please take it away.
The Dido. Hello, I am Dido. You can catch me on Twitter at Dido11. On Wednesdays, I play an old lady Tabaxi over on Swindler's. Here. We'll get into character in a second. Over on Swindler's Den, I play an old lady Tabaxi in Rime of the Frost Maiden. And on Thursdays and Saturdays, you can catch me on Party Wipe Games, where I play a fire genasi who likes to set things on fire, and then my cleric, who is very pacifist. And they're both really fun. But tonight, I get to play Shagar, the expert knight person who looks just scary enough that people leave her alone, but not so scary that people notice her.
This is, in other words, the correct amount of scary to pass through literally any obstacle. So that's going to work out really well, especially for tonight. Next up, Alicia.
Oh, hey, that's me. I'm Alicia, or Petty Energy, or NNG98, depending on where you know me from. Twitterverse, it's NNG98 for Twitch, It's Petty Energy. You can also find me in the Good Doggo game mentioned on Sundays. As far as some other places you can find me, I'm a cast member of the Hollow Flames podcast. Well, that at Hollow Flame Pod. At times, there's probably some other places you can find me, but memories for people who remember things. So just follow me on Twitter, and then I tweet when I'm in things. Honestly. And tonight I'll be playing Keen, who's just kind of happy to get out of the house for once. It can be a lot sometimes.
The memory comment is such a mood, and I'm excited to see Keen's. Keen's gonna get up to some stuff, I'm sure, as the court starts to unravel. And last but not least, of course, Molly.
Hello, I'm Molly. You can find me on Twitter at ObviousrebelM. I don't actually have any projects right now, but if you want to bug me and talk about pro wrestling or tokusatsu or fitness, please do. I'm always bored. Just always bored.
Molly and I were talking about pirates and wrestling and how to make these both a thing in tabletop games. So I'm sure that we'll play a game of that relatively soon. Stay tuned for some potentiality on that. Okay, so let's dive into the world of Blue Rose as we get towards a large inn on the outskirts of the main city of Aldis, named the Roamer's Rest. This is where we will sort of start off at. And before we do, just some background on what's going on, the game, and as well as some incentives. So let's start off with the Twitch stuff. So hey everybody, looking for some retweets and some sub goals. At 5 sub goals or at 5 subs, we'll reach the sub goal, and everybody will actually get 3 auto successes, and that'll be really helpful in a game like tonight with a lot of political intrigue and speaking with people. So this will be already a big deal. There is already a sort of inspiration-like mechanic in the game, but this would take it even a step further. For retweet goals, we have 20 retweets to hit our retweet goal, which will kind of enable a pool of hit points that anybody will be able to distribute to anyone at any point. If you want to heal that rock, please do. If you want to heal that person, equally good. But a rock is definitely going to still be my personal preference. Still possible though. So that's what we got for retweets and sub goals, as well as donations. We got $5 for 1 auto success, $15 for a complication for the party, $25 to give an arcane item to each character in each of the weeks. So this is kind of a big one that I'm really hoping that we can meet. $50 would be a unicorn ally, which the first week has already received for themselves, but is still something that could be done at any point from here on out. At $100, our donation goal was already met, actually, and that would be to create a written scenario involving the Roamer's Rest here, created by the Dungeon Madame, and I can't wait. It's already well underway and is going to be super fun to actually debut it during the West Marches campaign just a little bit. And then we have our super wild $200 donation, and that would actually be a further written supplement involving Roamer's Rest, complete with locales, personages, items, and more. So that's what we got for retweets, sub goals, and donations. As far as the game and what's been going on is concerned, between the first week and the second week of our wonderful game here, it seems like demons are invading the primal forest to the northeast of the city of Aldis, known as the Pavenweald. This is a primal area with beautiful forest spirits and animal guardians, right creatures, as far as the eye can see, living in basically pure bliss, unchanged for thousands of years since the Old Kingdom. It is a haven. There was rumors of a Shadow Gate, which is an ancient device spewing demons into the land from out through basically essentially the Shadow Realm, at Chimbo. And so this, I'm sorry, I need a moment because I did that to myself. But essentially the demons poured out into this forest and started to ravage the land, of which our wonderful 2 weeks, our first 2 weeks parties did a wonderful job of repelling. However, the world has not seen this and done nothing. Many of the kingdoms around the world of Aldia seek to meet the sovereign um, who rarely makes appearances and only speaks when necessary, in the city of Aldis for social engagement and for discussion on what's been happening in the Weald with these shadow gates, amongst rumors of other shadow gates located elsewhere in everybody else's kingdoms. This is obviously something that can't go um, with no response, seeing as how even the almighty Pavenwheel that we thought was so wealthily defended really was only saved by a pod of drunk dolphins willing to ford a small brook in order to carry our wonderful party members over to the Shadowgate and actually bring it down. Um, each of those parties have been rewarded, and you may or may not see them in tonight's session. But let's take us to Roamer's Rest, where our party is currently residing. I'm sure drinking and maybe discussing with each other. The bounty board for what to do is there, and at any point that you guys wish to leave the tavern, you can go ahead and approach that bounty board, and we'll get to the big of it. But always like to start at Roamer's Rest. The only interesting thing about Roamer's Rest, apart from standard for tonight, will be that there is actually a very large amount of Lavelle Brownmauer, which is sort of Blue Rose's interpretation, or their wording for essentially men and women who are, or people who are beyond the man and woman binary gender spectrum, right? And so it is a beautiful convention of people from all walks of life, not tied down to any single kingdom or sort of affiliation. But because there's so much movement and activity moving towards all this, the Lavelle are seeking each other out, building community, and establishing sort of positive relationships along the way. Roamer's Rest, the Roamers themselves being a nation of peoples scattered and basically made of roads, work really well with the Lavelle, accept and understand their culture, and really help to sort of help with transportation, boarding, and feeding throughout the kingdoms, essentially. So there's a lot of Lavelle in Roamer's Rest. If anybody would, if I'm whoever would like to flirt or not flirt, but we are there. Who would like to introduce what they're doing at Roamer's Rest? Playing poker with the drunken dolphins is a valid answer, although it doesn't have to be.
I mean, you said it's a valid answer, so
So it is.
it is. But yeah, I imagine camera zooms in and we see Keen and just kind of looks like Keen just not rolled out of bed, but did not do much to get dressed up at all. Like there's just some sort of like tunic and leggings of some kind. Happily playing cards. Doesn't seem all that concerned with whether she wins or loses. Doesn't seem all that concerned. Just kind of happily playing cards. Hair has a bunch of barrettes in it, somewhat randomly placed. But yeah, just happy to be out.
So for the
Keen, by the
first
way, is
roll
a
of our
human warrior for knowledge sake.
I'm sure with very with strong armor that maybe in a guard lowered playing this game. For the first roll of our game, actually, so the roll for this for Blue Rose and for H system is essentially 3d6 plus whatever your attribute is. In this case, I will let you use any attribute you wish, whatever you feel like your heart is drawn to the most, in order to draw a card and see what that next card would be.
Okay. We'll say we'll go with this one.
Which attribute
It's still
would
a
that be?
game. So communication.
Awesome. That's a wonderful one. Really good for this session.
And since we're playing a game, I think I have a +2 on deception. So yeah,
Ooh.
I think that's
So that's
So that's a total of 9 actually.
9.
That roll is
Okay.
not great.
Really good.
Yeah.
So, and then roll one more d6.
Just one more. Okay.
This is not standard.
Oh, good.
Who?
It's a 1.
It's a 1, but that's fine. Essentially, you pull a card out. Normally, you would associate these with playing cards for the purposes of the poker game. The dolphin looks at you. We have wonderful art of our dolphin in essentially a coat and a hat with glasses, um, sort of looking over you in his in the den of his family and essentially the illegal activities that go on in the basement of the Roamer's Rest. You draw a card that is not a normal playing card, and you draw the Pentacles, the Fool of Pentacles. This is a tarot card, which there are tarot cards at the seams at Roamer's Rest, as there are a lot of readings there very commonly. It might have fallen through the floorboards, or it may have come from above, however, or from below. That being said, Pentacles of the Fool of Pentacles is what you draw. It is associated with the goddess Anwarin, and is also associated with autumn, mountains, sovereignty, and war, whereas the Fool itself represents a sort of blank slate that beckons a leap of faith. So this will be something to take note of later on in the game. And if everybody wants, you'll also get a tarot reading in Roamer's Rest. But Keen was playing cards, and the tarot seems to have taken an attention to her. Who's up next?
I can go.
Yeah.
So would zoom in on a very green night person with kind of messy black hair and like random braids that don't make any sense. Decked out in black and green. The bottom of her top has this odd scalloped lace ruching. And she's just in one of the armchairs, her legs just propped over. She's casually swirling her drink, sipping it every now and again, looking like she's not paying attention, not a care in the world, but she's watching everything that's going on.
A game won't be a game without a muting, but as I was just saying,
Oh, no.
and I will repeat verbatim, I too am listening to everything. I'm watching everything. Thank you so much, Dado, for your 5 subs. We've hit our sub goal for the game, everybody, and this means 3 auto successes on whatever you want. So if you just want to do it, just do it. Save that person, heal that rock. Somebody heal the rock. All right, so that's what we got. So Shagar, that's what you're up to.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Who's next?
Sure. Let's go. Vaelyn in simple robes is just kind of taking in everyone that's at the tavern. Looks slightly annoyed. And is taking in all the different folks that are there, but goes up to the bar. Excuse me. I was wondering if I could ask a bit about who's been coming through recently.
Barley, our wonderful Lavelle barkeeper, going by he, she, they pronouns, approaches you and says, well, right now, honey, the only people I see are people like me, and kind of shows around to the bar, where a beautiful convention of Lavelle, of night people, forest folk, pirate islanders, pavid wielders, even a rye kitty. There are so many Lavelle, and Barley is just ecstatic. In the last week, Barley has met an entire new polycule that he's had a wonderful time with. And this week, it seems like literally every Lavelle in Aldia is coming to Aldis. So it's Barley. She's doing great. She has no idea what you're talking about, though. She's just, kind of serving drinks. It's pretty busy.
I understand there's a lot of frivolity, and that's fantastic, but I'm concerned with recent events and the amount of travel. If there are individuals of a Kernish or Jarzoni bent who have passed through here.
On the Jarzoni bit, he mentions, yeah, actually, now that you say something, I did have an awfully reserved Jarzoni enter Roamer's Rest about 2 days ago. Definitely wasn't the proselytizing type yelling at me about the liquor that I'm serving or some other such nonsense. In fact, he drank quite a lot himself, but I could feel the strength behind his eyes, the weight of his sword. It's clearly somebody who, if they wanted to, would have crushed me. And honestly, I would have invited him to do so. But he's obviously going through something. And what was his name? Palak? I think it was Palak.
With that mention, Vaelyn's already sour face looks a bit more dire. Throws a few coins on the bar. Thank you. And
Ooh, nice.
He begins to take his leave, heading towards one of the back corners of the tavern, and just stands pensively looking out the window. Whether or not he's staring into the distance looking for a sign of weather or just lost in thought is up to the viewer.
Barley doesn't care and is very confident. Barley says, well, don't leave so soon, honey. You gave me quite a nice tip, and I might ask for another later. Shove on. Okay. Immediately, Barley loses interest and goes off to one of the myriad other 30 people that they'd be able to confide and find. That's Vaelyn. Okay. Aspen, Corvo.
Sure. So Aspen is a sort of average height, relatively skinny person that has clearly sort of gone out of their way to make it not clear what their birth gender is. Relatively long blonde hair, but slicked back sort of casually, and a sort of baggy shirt and pants that don't really reveal what the body's like underneath. And overall is a very bright red, sort of long Buccaneers coat. And they are sort of just casually making their way around, making conversation and flirting with anybody who seems interested. Clearly not on any kind of business. Just having a good time.
You hop into a roamer who you feel similarly the description about this person. This roamer turns to you and says, this may be too presumptuous, but should I be happy that I am meeting another Lavelle? Asking inquisitively.
I mean, anyone should be happy to meet me, but sure, if that's a label that you think applies, then apply it. I don't like to be tied down by words.
Immediately starstruck. This is a roamer who hates that kind of boxes and feels like maybe they have to put on a sort of show because there's so many more foreigners like basically in their inn, where they usually reside. This is where most roamers kind of stay outside of the city of Aldis and kind of rewind and recharge here. They're like, wow, so refreshing. I am happy to meet you, and is like just immediately like stars, right? Is very happy, and essentially like they offer to buy you a drink, and sort of lead you over towards Barley, and kind of pop some silver down on the table on the bar and request some mugs of mead, or wine or liquor, whichever you prefer, and as they try to woo over Aspen.
Uh, Aspen will be like, you know what? Just give me whatever is the most delicious thing on order.
Barley's like, well, you're not going to get a taste of meat right now. I'm too busy. But I'm more than happy to make you something that I think is one of my most special concoctions. And Barley pulls out this cask of like spiced apple wine, or like apple cider. And it's just like very bubbly, very carbonated. It's syrupy. It almost has like a molasses type of texture. And it's really delicious. It's basically pure sugar, which is not exactly the most common commodity in Aldia, usually reserved for nobles. Barley says, I, I don't know. Some pirate islander just dropped a cask of this when they were sailing in on this ship. I don't know. I mean, did you see it? It's like parked right outside. It's right by the coast. It's like this huge ship, and it has like sovereignty written all over it.
You know, I see a lot of ships, but it's always nice to get a surprise.
Yeah. It ends there. More on that later, everybody. And last but not least, Corvo. What are you up to at the Roamer's Rest?
Corvo. The door opens to the Roamer's Rest, and a tall, just over 6 foot, lean frame slides in between two people, rather deftly. Immediately, what's noticeable is the masquerade mask across the upper half of their face, completely covering their eyes, which there are no eye slits on the mask whatsoever. The hair is a platinum sheen, long and straight. Skin is a sort of an alabaster white, and the clothing's rather simple. A fairly simple gray robe with a red belt. As this individual maneuvers through, doesn't seem to bump into anyone, always happens to know exactly where to step. Grabbing a unattended drink off the bar between two individuals, he immediately slides over to a young patron, and not quite touching the individual, just leans down and whispers in their ear and points in the direction of another individual also sitting alone. The one he had spoken to gets up, he hands them the drink that he had stolen, and they walk over and start up a conversation. Corvo, in the meantime, continuing to weave through the crowd, grabs another drink, finds himself a seat, reaches under the table, and pulls out a card that happened to be resting there.
Just amazing. Please roll as well, or auto succeed, whatever that means in this case.
I'll roll. Pick a stat and roll.
Yeah, say exactly whatever you think it would be, and then that would influence, basically what card you get. Seems
16.
like we are. Whew, 16. That's wild. Okay, this is going to be, and then same thing. One more d6.
Of course. Oops. Hopes I typed that correctly.
I patiently await this call from fate. 4. Okay. Ooh. So take this as you will, everybody else as well. But you have received the Moon of Swords. The moon is already representative of a deceitful adept, um, of an illusory person who racks people with fear. And the swords represents the god Selene, associated with death, rebirth, winter, and secrets. This is definitely a foreboding um, combination, but I wonder if it's for others or for yourself.
Yeah, takes the card, gives it a little kiss, and throws it into the din of people.
A roamer picks it up, takes a quick look at it, like goes outside to hurl, comes back in real quick. It is definitely ominous, and any roamer with their salt, especially an older roamer who's seen quite a lot, roams quite a lot, it's so rare that when it is seen, it is definitely considered an omen. Just as that happens, a Knight of the Blue Rose, um, who was actually spending quite a lot of time at the bar recently, known as Kith, shows up, breaks the door open, and Kith is like, "Everyone, the chariot, the caravan, it's here!" Um, Context, Kith is a character from our last week. It is another knight person who has since been promoted to to the Order of Blue Rose, and become a knight for basically her heraldry and talent in the last week's session. It seems like she's been enjoying a lavish life of knighthood, eating whatever she wants, whenever she wants, and visiting Barley at Romer's Rest just outside the city whenever she wants to as well. However, it doesn't seem like she's here for Barley at this point. She's calling out the arrival of the last delegation. Finally, the Lartians are here. It takes them so long to get here because they're so far, but it seems like the matriarchy has finally sent a delegation. Anybody associated with the Blue Rose or the Sovereign, report to the Azure Palace at once for food, drink, merriment, and a discussion of the realm's biggest threats. Goes to the bar, kisses Barley, and runs away and bolts out of there with blue rose crested heavy armor as fast as possible. Sorry, medium armor. I'm sorry.
At hearing the word Layarton, Keen just lets out a deep sigh. Oh boy, here we go. Gets ready to get up and go.
Just stands up and all right, it's time.
Shagar swirls her drink a little bit more, lets off a sigh, and languidly gets out of the chair she was lounging in. Like she couldn't even be bothered. And starts stalking toward the door by way of walking past Aspen. And leans up against a table or bar or whatever they're closest to. You know, I've seen you most of the night. I could use a little tusk cleaning. If you're up for some fun.
Well, I mean, I'm always up for a little fun.
We can go where the...
What you have in mind?
Well, I mean, I'm not one for politics, but my job dictates I follow. But maybe we could make a scene. Or two.
to go anyway. So it's always nice to go with a friendly face. I'm Aspen, like the tree.
Shagar. Do you get hard
Please,
like the tree?
after you.
Oh my god.
Parts of me. But find out which parts, you'll have to get to know me a little better.
Well, let's not waste any time.
After you.
And I will not walk in front of Aspen, I will walk next to them.
Side by side.
Yeah, Aspen will go along and give a sort of, as they are walking away, over his shoulder, give a little wink to Barley and a smile and head back out.
This is sure to be a not so boring night now.
Well, hopefully. Politics is always a little dreary, but
That they are, and
sometimes
as they
something
get out,
happens.
as they get out the door, she puts her hood up.
So, let's see, it seems like Aspen, Shagar, and Keen are walking out. Corvo is still rolling in lovers, I imagine, and Vaelyn is drinking. Is that what I'm getting?
No, Vaelyn
Corvo.
has. Go ahead.
Corvo enjoys the drink that's in front of them as they continue to sort of roam around Roma's Rest. Not so much finding lovers of their own, but seemingly to connect others who are longing for something more close. All the while making connections and memories for later. Hearing the Blue Rose, however, Corvo will reach into their pocket, pull out a coin, and walk over to the barkeep. Barley, is that right?
Indeed.
Hello. Hello, Barley. Your establishment is exquisite. I congratulate you for such a fine place.
Not as fine as your etiquette. Who taught you to be such a flirt? A flatter.
As well you should be. But I am not your conquest tonight. That is for another. However, I give you this coin. Hold on to it for 2 days. Only then you will need it. Have a lovely evening.
Barley feels like he got like the tables turned on him, and he's like, "What? I have like literally no idea what just happened." Usually that works pretty great, and I deal with roamers all the time. I have no idea how I didn't catch like any sleight of hand or anything. Like, it's completely like in shock.
You have a wonderful evening, Barley. You are beautiful, as is your soul. And Corvo will exit as quietly as they entered.
Closes eyes, opens wide, and with eyebrows up, and this sort of. And I assume that at this point, as you walk out, Vaelyn, are you still in the corner near the door, gathering yourself?
Yes, as he's seeing this parade of individuals all heading out after the night declares that the representatives have arrived. Still eyes locked outside the window, an arm just shoots up and just plucks a card from the air.
Yes! Yay! Card time. Okay, third card time.
14. With a stunt.
With the stunt, or with the stunt die being, oh yeah, because you got the snake eyes. That's actually really cool. I'll add some for that, and then one more d6 to finalize that.
1.
Judgment of rods, commonly associated with a wise man or woman who sees anything and everything as part of the situation. However, even though you fight for those below you, you put themselves before yourself. In addition, rods represents the god Morena, who is the patron deity of the Lavel in Aldia. Agriculture, fire, community, marriage, and summer are some of the things that Morena represents. A happy omen, a happy card. Even if things seem dire, the card is almost trying to pull you back from the veil and tell you kind of everything's going to be okay.
I guess I shall see you at the court. He tosses the card aside, steps out the door, and with a blink, he's gone from all sight.
So just, okay, so nowhere to be found. Right before you leave, you hear a dolphin yelling from the basement as to why someone keeps throwing cards down in his bucket of mead that him and his buddies are swimming in. And this is how these things keep happening, and destiny falls into people's laps. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. Keen, Aspen, Corvo, and Shagar are all outside with Vaelyn nowhere to be found, and the shadow of a looming giant galleon parked right by the coast, again beaming the name, the sovereign, essentially almost whether that be a snuff or a compliment to the sovereign of Aldis is still unclear, but existing nonetheless. And then, of course, the city of Aldis on the horizon. What's going on with everybody?
You said there was a carriage?
Well, so what Kith was trying to say was that the caravan had arrived in Aldis. So sure, there's like a procession of Lartian, like of the Lartian lower delegation, traders, other people who just wanted to come with them because it was safer and they already were going to. And there's other ships arriving from Lartia as well, some traveling by road after porting somewhere else, and some going directly to the port of Aldis. So there is a lot of movement. You can hop on somebody's cart if you want to, but there's not like one waiting for you.
No, walking is fine. As Aspen and Shagar are walking, she's gonna pull something out of the top of her shirt, and it's gonna look like a card, and then she's gonna split it into two. Pick a card. Any card.
All right. And they will grab one of the cards. So I guess that is an invitation to make a roll.
Indeed. 3d6. Pick your attribute. If you have a focus that you think would apply, please do. And then 1d6 after that. Ooh, okay.
So that
just
a 19.
Going all out. Highest one yet.
And a 2 on the second die.
This is probably the most confusing yet for me personally. It would be the world of chalices associated with the god Braniel. The world represents a traveler from a very far away, distant land. Mysterious origin. You seek something, but what you seek is where you began. Now, what makes this even more interesting is that the chalices represents spring, romance, stars, animals, and rain. It's almost telling you to go back to the beginning of life to find what you're looking for. It's a sort of a heavy prospect, and honestly could be interpreted many different ways. Hence the confusion.
No, that's interesting.
No,
You gonna look at the other one?
I will. 18. 18.
Yeah, and
a 4.
and a 4. Okay. This is almost on par with Aspen's, and almost seems like a mirroring or a parallel of the other. This is going to be the Wheel of Chalices. Chalices still represents spring, romance, animals, water, a sort of, primality of life. Whereas the wheel represents either a great gain or great loss, being near. It's a major turning point of your destiny. So correlating these together, especially being back-to-back rolls, is quite uncanny.
Well, I think the cards are trying to tell us something.
Well, perhaps something exciting is on the horizon.
Immediately, an explosion off from the galleon, only just off the coast. The Sovereign bursts into flames, as an oil barrel seems to explode, or maybe a cask of mead, something that was being transported on this great frigate is causing an issue. The professional crew, however, of the Sovereign is immediately on the case, and it seems like they're containing it quite well. But yes, that sound is literally what you hear when you're like, oh, it's all good. And you wonder if this is either the wheel or the world coming into effect. That being said, a rebirth is near.
The world can't turn without the wheel, right?
True enough.
These draws are straight up giving me chills out of character, everybody. Like, okay, whatever, right? This is a perfect moment for that.
I do think hearing that initial explosion, though, even knowing that the crew's on it immediately, Keen kind of rushes that direction to see if anybody needs help.
Ooh.
If anybody got suddenly clothes got fire or something, because they're trying to contain the fire. See if anybody needs help.
Yeah, there's ropes falling from the side of the galleon as Keen goes over, where survivors are being basically carried out, and large sailors. I mean, there's no bodies or anything, but people are a little bit wounded and they're trying to get out. Others are trying to hop on dock hands or deck hands that are trying to get back on. This seems like the way on. Does everybody else approach as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Without a second thought, 30 of them, of these crew people, who are hanging off the side of this galleon, sliding down in unison, look at Aspen and say, "Captain!"
What was it this time?
Your first hand approaches you.
You don't have to do that. All right, what's the situation?
I'm just used to it. And this sort of a pallid, Kernish man approaches you. He looks very sort of spry, very fast. The rest of you didn't even really get a good look at this incredible force of nature as he approached Aspen. he says, it was the grog we were transporting, okay? I knew there was some... It's too spicy, all right? It's too spicy. The Lardians wanted to transport it. I think they put fire salts in it, okay? And he's, like, being sarcastic. He's, like, trying to joke. It wasn't really laced. He's just very worried about it.
It's just... is everybody okay?
If they're not, we're only 5 away from our retweet goal for a pool of 20 hit points to start lending out for some survivors. But, yeah, it seems like most of us are okay. However, a couple of us have suffered minor injuries, and I think we've already gotten most of us out. I do need some help taking care of these people, and I really need some help at least putting back some of the wood together and making sure that the structure of the galleon is intact and sound.
I guess I
Well,
may be of assistance.
Well, happy to have it. Shagar, it appears that I will be occupied for a few minutes. You're welcome to stick around, or if you'd like, go on without me. Whatever the mood takes you.
She takes a look around. I might be able to help move some things around.
That would be appreciated.
She does not look like she can help move things around.
He's just looking like just a gesture, just a complete empty gesture.
It's the thought that
I'll
counts.
help
So Aspen will go around first checking on the wounded to see if there's anything that they can do. They don't actually know much about healing or have any intelligence, so there's probably not, but it's important to make everybody try to feel better.
So at that point is when I guess it would have made the most sense that Vaelyn would have spoken to chime in and say basically that he can help with the healing. Vaelyn, what were you saying about that?
Does the Batman appear out of nowhere and offers assistance? Bring me the wounded.
Bring you the wounded. Just slide down the rope.
I will.
You're just playing monkey ladders at this point, and you're just going up and down, up and down. You came up to check, and now you're going back down. We're not moving.
Reaching out with move object and just grabbing the ropes and pulling them in.
Ooh.
And just
yes.
So
there's a strainer that's like going down, and you just reverse its pull, even though like 3 crewmen are pulling, bottom, and it reaches the top with a table basically ready for healing. Is this strainer? I meant stretcher. They are not pasta. These are wounded people.
Yeah, I was rather confused, but I was just willing to go with it.
Yep.
But yeah, no. Upon seeing the wounded, just quickly laying hands upon them, using his gifts and knowledge to heal them as best he can. But also pacing himself as I will.
Yeah, you can just go ahead and cast your Arcana, and then let's see how well it works.
18.
Okay, that's really good. Everybody took minor injuries, so you're able to heal about 12 people with just that. It seems like the majority of everybody is taken care of.
I best not push it. That should take care of a lot of you. Just try and stay bandaged for those that still have open wounds. And
Captain,
stay away from
your new friend is the
explosions.
best. No, we won't. I mean, we have 20 more of those spice caskets, but I don't know, Captain, and Unison, Captain, your friend is amazing. Can we take him back with him?
I mean, that would really be a question for him. Speaking of which, I don't actually think I know you, but I deeply appreciate you caring for my people.
My name is Vaelyn. I am advisor and tutor to Her Highness.
Well, then it is very much appreciated. You're, I believe, the biggest wig we've had around in a while.
That could be of
I'm
some
the captain of
use.
this ship.
Well, hopefully your motley crew will be a little more careful with the casks. So, alcohol doesn't tend to... It goes whoosh, not boom. At least the stuff that I drink.
I assure you that explosions are not that common in port. Usually.
Reassuring, given the number of dignitaries that are in town.
I didn't think
Yeah.
about
I
I
wish
will
there's
bid
quite
you
many.
a good
Oh, sorry.
evening.
Good evening.
And he turns around, and just as soon as he reaches the corner, is completely out of sight.
This is the second time that. Yeah,
Why,
Keen.
why does he keep doing that? What is... He can just walk. Why disappear?
Because he knows how to make an
How does that
exit.
help? It
It's
still feels
stylish.
weird. I think it's... Yes? But also he doesn't drink drinks that go boom, so I don't know. His sense of style is questionable.
And Aspen will, at that point, go about checking and making sure that the boat is seaworthy still, making sure that the hold is separated enough so that there won't be a chain explosion if another one of those goes off.
You have like these barricades and like mounts. You just start like basically ordering everybody to like staple it to the ground. And you just like create like 6 feet distance in between these barrels to make sure that they don't blow up. And then you staple them in.
And then, give the boat a quick once over and, address the crew. Everyone, apologies for the slight explosion. Hopefully, things will be copacetic from now, but I have places to be, so I will leave the ship in your capable hands.
Long
Then
live the
dramatically slide down a rope.
captain! Yeah, on the way out, like as you start to run to make your escape essentially faster than everybody else. Everybody starts throwing their hats. You get 1 or 2 hats land on you, a couple pieces of underwear land on you, and you continue to slide down.
I imagine Keen's
Your crew
been
loves you very
following
much.
Aspen this entire time, just not saying anything. Because she was gonna introduce herself, and then Aspen started walking. So it's like, so just follow the whole
You're
time,
always
waiting
catching
now
up.
after it's look. It's just like, and instead of like then, it's just like first thing she says is, "Oh, you seem quite popular. I'm Keen, by the way."
Well, you do seem very keen, but what's your name? Just kidding.
Haven't heard that one before. If you must know, I am Keen on Ankel.
It is a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I'm Captain Aspen, like the tree.
Does that mean you all are bark and no bite?
Wrecked.
I like to think
so
that I'm
good.
exactly the right amount of bark.
The pain is real!
I felt it. I felt it too.
From Corvo's perspective, the moment he exited the Romer's Rest, he simply stepped to the right of the door and waited a few moments before beginning to walk. As the explosion occurred on the boat, they did not flinch and weaved through the crowd that was in a bit of a panic. Just happened to be in the right spot to catch someone as they were tripping and falling, helping them back up. He does not veer towards the ship, knowing that there's very little that he can do to help in that situation, but continues to walk towards where the Blue Rose had sort of led the way, but ultimately finding a spot just off the side of the road to stop, with the hope of being in the right spot to see the captain as they finish their assessment of the damage.
So there's someone behind you chasing you, Aspen, in the form of Keen and Shagar. Vaelyn is gone, and Corvo's waiting for you at the
Oh,
bottom.
no. Shagar does not chase.
Oh. Unconfirmed is just Keen for now, and Corvo at the bottom. You're sandwiched. You're sandwiched. Is what I'm trying to say.
But as the captain does approach, my apologies. Go ahead.
I was about to say, after speaking briefly with Keen, Aspen will turn to Shagar and be like, "Apologies for the delay, but I'm ready to resume our trek if you are." And then head back towards the road.
Upon arrival, as the captain approaches, "You, pardon me, you are the tree captain, are you not?"
Sounds good enough to me.
Ah, excellent. I believe we are to meet. Myself and you and the compatriots you have decided to bring with you. I am Corvo. It is my pleasure, as he gives a very deep bow.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
It usually is, yes.
Thought of decisions or compatriots, but if we are fated to meet, then such is the winds of fate.
As the wheel turns, as some would say.
Is there something that I
believe
can do for you? Or?
Oh, on the contrary, it is how I seek to assist you, Captain, Tree Captain. I believe you have very dubious and no, that's not the right word. Very cautious steps to make before you. Many decisions to be had and conversations to be made. I believe you will need all the help you can get.
Well, my mother always said never turn down the wisdom of a mysterious stranger, and I've met several tonight, so it seems like I am well kept. If you'd like to accompany us,
yes, your mother was a wonderful woman.
Into the city dramatically.
Dramatics. It is my specialty. Is there anything in particular you would like to see? Perhaps fireworks or a floral arrangement or anything of that sort?
As a side
no,
note,
thank you. I believe we've seen fireworks enough tonight.
Hopefully
that's
we'll
a good
see
joke.
more.
Yes, very well. Oh, I knew I saw a connection between you two. As I said, you are destined for great things.
Well, I think at that point, Aspen will assume that everyone is going and just, sort of turn tail and
Mm-hmm.
take off down the road towards the city proper.
Shagar would walk next to Corvo. You said you can do some cool tricks?
Oh, I know a few. Is there something you would like to see?
How many knives do I have on me right now?
Oh. Well, normally it would be incalculable. You are a very wily individual who seeks to protect themselves as often as and in as many ways as they can. The exact number, maybe 10 or so, but really only one will be needed in the days to come.
I'll keep that in mind. You're very close. 15.
Ah, yes. I keep forgetting you will lose 5 in the next week.
Let's hope they're the bad ones.
Yo, let's go.
Maybe.
This is so good.
At least I'll know I'll need 5.
Oh, I don't know if you'll use them. I just said you'll lose them. There is only so much there is only so much I can see.
Well, Melly has a tendency to steal my daggers, so maybe that's a good sign I'll see my old friend again.
Oh. Is there someone you are missing?
She's off doing her things while I do what I need to do. Not really missing, just not in the same place at the same time.
I don't feel a very strong connection, but I don't know you as well just yet.
What other things can you do?
Exactly at that moment, Corvo, your head begins to hurt as you get. It seems that you've been having bad dreams the last couple days, and right now it feels like you're actually in the middle of a waking dream. You see a beautiful palisade, sort of atrium area with greenery, extremely intricate stonework. I mean, it's like just beautiful. Everything's laid with ornate lapis lazuli, sapphires, and aquamarine gems. It is a display of lavish wealth that borders on gaudy, but still stands to be more than anything just radiant and bright. You see the shine of these gems and like the glow of this lapis lazuli sort of it's tinged and depressed with a wave of crimson, of coagulating blood rolling over the grout of the small, intricate stonework and entering every canal. You know that as soon as you arrive at the Azure Palace, the image of which this clearly is, bloodshed you should expect.
During the conversation with Shagar, it's almost like a glitch that happens as Corvo seems to stumble for a second, but in that blink, there's an illusion that immediately comes up, hiding the grimace of pain and the trickle of blood that comes from his nose. As the conversation ends abruptly, and he keeps walking, and the illusion that is sort of surrounding him, protecting others from the pain that he is feeling. As you see his hand sort of come up to his face and rub around his nose a bit. As he looks back at Shagar. Oh, my apologies, dear Shagar.
Are you okay?
The wood shows many things to those who have the eyes. Those daggers of yours, are you good with them? I presume you are.
I know a thing or two.
Be prepared. I believe they will be needed before too long. It is possible you will be using 5 of them after all.
I will keep that in mind. And I will be on. Now she is she's always on alert, but now she is even more on alert. And checking, like, her surroundings and everything. Like, her job is to make sure this delegation gets to the palace safely.
So,
The moment we
without
cross the
further
threshold,
ado,
be wary.
Shagar's voice appears as a light to you, Corvo, as our retweet goal was just met, and a light does pierce through the veil of darkness. You do feel some sort of radiant power grow within you, and in each of your minds, the faint glimmer of a golden object, the shape of which you can't fully discern, as bright and powerful as the sun. It gives you the ability to connect with each other, and you feel yourselves bonded by this energy and your ability to sort of use that group connection to flow health into others. And this represents the pool of 20 hit points that you can use on people, delegations, rocks, etc. With you do make it to the Azure Palace with no issue. I mean, at this point, there's an entourage. There's Aspen, the captain, it seems, I would admit, who seems to be taking the lead on this, amongst the others, and Shagar, as you stated, you know, with knives out, right, essentially, looking at every corner, telling people to wait, you know, as you get past certain streets or not. But you do make it to the Azure Palace with, or the Azure Plaza, with no issue. Um, upon arriving, you actually find something straight out of, um, if the Pavenwield was an idyllic, you know, origin for primal forest, for untouched nature, um, and and for an argument for a return for the ways that things were even prior to the Old Kingdom. Um, that was it. Now you find yourself at the opposite end of existence currently on Aldia. This is the sort of summary of all technology and advancement that these kingdoms have created and done over these eras since the fall of the Old Kingdom, and tried their best to rival that power. The Azure Palace, the Azure Plaza is filled with delegates and dignitaries from all over. Um, and just to name a couple, the Aldians are represented by the Order of the Knights of the Blue Rose, with many around acting as guardsmen, consul, and even diplomats, speaking to other dignitaries and sort of putting on a chivalrous show. There's jousting even on the fields below that they let patrons kind of watch with like little mini binoculars basically, and having fun, you know, with everything there. However, they're not the only ones. The sovereign's finest are here, which are considered essentially extremely powerful captains, as well as diplomats who sort of represent main interests for the sovereign directly. Vaelyn is actually considered one of these finest. And upon seeing Vaelyn, some of the other finest go in for embraces and hugs. I'm sure the likes of which would surprise you. Except maybe Aspen, who already knew that they were a big wig indeed. Aldis, however, there's still no word of the sovereign, and it doesn't seem like Jalen has made an appearance yet. You do see, however, the Lartian delegation and the representative of the Lartian like front and center at the top of the stage, a member of the Royal Lar caste, Lady Kalanera Hagen Claw. Lady Kalanera Hagen Claw is actually the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade Policy in the Lartian Matriarchy. Um, She's giving a rousing speech on the nature of foreign relations and how she started off trusting very little of the of Aldis and their ways. Um, for example, she doesn't understand how a society would choose to have anything except a caste system and would choose to have egalitarianism both in gender and politics. Kind of out there, but that she's willing to trade and she's since learned, um, you know, exactly how powerful these feelings can be, even though she herself doesn't agree with all of Jalen's teachings. It's a very neutral, metered stance that comes off as a little boorish, but is charming enough to, receive a round of applause from everybody around.
Enos
Um,
distinctly remembered
there
of
was
why she left.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
this.
This is why they
Yep.
don't stay.
Um, Many Aldis nobles kind of, if you can see mutterings and eyes rolling, when talking about exactly the political systems or gender power structures of these different kingdoms. But again, at least enough courtesy to give her golf claps and placates and sort of to placate her. This, however, is when Corvo, you definitely get the sharpest headache yet. You feel impending doom um, as your card, um, the Moon of Swords, comes back into play. You feel secrets in the air that only wisdom will answer. Someone is tricking you currently. You feel death coming very quickly.
Barring any resistance to such a thing, in the minds of those around them, psychic contact will be made with the immediate compatriots of the Turi captain. And in your mind's ear, so to speak, you hear Corvo's voice. Secrets loom. Watch your step. Someone lies. We have a deceiver. Be wary. Corvo himself will sort of stumble against a nearby wall and look as unassuming as he can as he takes a seat to catch himself.
Um, since Shagar was still kind of next to Corvo, she'll a little farther away from the chair that he's in, um, and lean up against the wall, much like she was doing in the bar. But instead of having a drink, she's just picking at her nails with what looks like a nail file, but it's on closer inspection is a lot deadlier than it should be. As she scans the room for any places people could hide, trying to make sure that there's no ambush on her and her newfound friends. After the warning from Corvo.
Aspen will sort of make the normal, like, expected rounds of being cordial, but is sort of actively taking care to, like, figure out the exits, look at what security looks like, keep an eye on like the particularly important potential targets. Like at this point, very much looking at like what could possibly go wrong right now, but while maintaining an air of everything is normal.
Shagar, we can get a roll from you, or you can use an auto success if you wish. But before we do, Aspen, you do see something right away. It is seems to be almost a ceremony or um, a celebration where medallions and medals are being pinned and posted. Meow! In a sort of loud kitty meow comes out. You see a large black rye cat being fitted for very uncomfortable heavy armor with the crest of the blue rose on it, and he's like trying to, it's like when you put some clothes on a cat, it just sort of locks up and falls over, doesn't really know how to wear it. This is none other than Seven, a party member that we had last week, with Kith, Zeniver, Xander, and Drea, all like, get the fuck up, right? Can you just get the fuck up, please? Like, there's like this, huge ceremony, all this crowd looking at these freshly, newly minted Knights of the Blue Rose. Everybody sort of heralding their success, defeating the Shadowgate over in the Pavenweald. And although there are discussions of other, shadows or other dark rumors in other lands, everybody needs a moment of levity to sort of enjoy this. Everybody loses their mind laughing at this kitty at Seven. It seems like security is tight, albeit a little laid back. They're obviously not really doing their best to scope out. This is some of the, this is the heart of their territory with like the strongest people, and they feel like they can relax a bit being in such home territory. Shagar.
I think I'm going to use an auto success. I think this is kind of important to see where the dangers might come from. So I'm just going to use an auto success.
Okay. You see two, what seems to be like essentially servants, working the event, right, covered in formal attire, handing out food or recovering food or whatever else anybody needs, and sort of looking a little bit, droll, drab. Next to them, someone kind of berating them and speaking to them in a manner that is very rude and just definitely not respectful, that you would treat service people with. It's none other than Dame Trissel, the representative and ghoul of the Kernish. Shagar, you know this person intimately. This person always tries essentially to oppress night people, and sort of give them more menial jobs, and sort of really not treat them with the respect that they deserve back in Kern. This person is definitely not good and uses a lot of intimidation tactics to keep people down, a lot of gaslighting. Like, this person very well.
Do these servants happen to be night people?
They're not. They're actually just all the Inhumans, like Aldis humans. Yeah, okay. It's. I guess it seems like maybe she's trying to be on best behavior and not give away herself, but not really. She's right now is just mean. Yeah, she herself is Kernish. Well, she's a ghoul. I mean, Kern is her background, but she is a ghoul.
Okay.
And her entourage is also ghouls. This is actually a leader of Kernish society known as one of the Shadowed Seven. And so the Shadowed Seven as an organization kind of, definitely discriminatory against.
Is there anything else I see, or is that it?
As she's yelling, screaming, somebody from behind her entourage, one of the ghouls, pulls a knife. This is a split second before anyone in the party, or rather with Shagar, where you can tell somebody and where the party will get one action before something happens.
Visions. Danger sense allows me to act normally, and I'll use an auto success to not be surprised by this.
My first instinct is to look at Corvo, but he kind of looks like he knows what's going on. I'm gonna pull out Trinity, the dagger, out of one of my bracers, and I want to disarm the guy with the knife. I'm gonna throw it across the room to disarm him.
Wait, so
That
you
is a
found
stunt.
them. You found them, but Corvo, were you saying that you were going to act with a danger sense to try and do something about this?
So
Just wanted to-
the Visions Arcana. There's an option under it where whenever I would normally be surprised in a combat, I can make a perception visionary check at a TN11 to just act normally, as I have the premonition of the event before it happens. Using the auto success in this instance, I'm not sure if that gives me an extra action or if it matters so much.
Yeah, I would say that probably in this case it applies more to preparing for actual combat. However, at this point, because one of you will attack first or do something first, you will initiate the surprise round rather than them at this point. So whatever happens, the surprise round goes to you. Well, as to the party, and essentially each of you get one action. So Shagar, you're going to start with by throwing somebody.
Yeah, I want to try and disarm him, but I want to try to
This
do
is
it
the-
where nobody will be able to like really notice what I'm doing.
This is the important part, and where somebody can help if anybody wants to. It is the smack dab middle of like this huge crowd of dignitaries. If you go out like throwing somebody on the ground, like there's definitely
No,
gonna be
I
some
just want to
drama.
get the knife out of his hand. That's all I want to do is get the
Well,
knife away from him.
But even so, right? Just like the presence of physically touching
So-
somebody. Keen,
There's
yeah.
not
So what you're
dancing
saying
going
is
on?
a distraction is needed? Is what you're saying? You'll need the distraction?
This is what I'm getting to. Yep.
Sure, no problem. And I think Keen will just walk over to the because Keen's kind of been people watching this whole time, just kind of like, oh, nice events, decent cheeses and crackers, whatever, and has kind of been paying attention to like the different sudden pairings that are happening and everything. And so Keen's just gonna what do the kids say? Start some shit. Be like, hey, you let the guy over there? He said your mustache looks terrible. He's just been just sowing the seeds of that, just to start stuff.
And okay, this is hilarious. I will say that the person that you roll first to see how successful you are, and then
Sure,
let's
that's
see,
fine.
and then then I'll explain which one.
Okay. So what am I rolling?
Okay, so this would be. I'll let you use a deception focus if you had one of those, or any sort
I
of
do.
intrigue foci. Yeah, so that
Oh,
and then the associated attribute.
Hey!
Let me see.
Look at that.
Yeah, it is. This is way more than good enough, and you get 6 stun points. So everybody started at 5 stun points. So Keen, you have a lot of stun points now.
Yeah.
You can use those on whatever you like, but this is more than good enough. You approach a Jarzoni priest, part of a delegate of essentially, if you emigrated from the matriarchal kingdom, this is the patriarchal and theocratic kingdom essentially, and they're very sort of rigid, strict, They don't have a strict caste system necessarily, but there is an extreme emphasis on status, almost just as much to the point of there being one. Um, sort of look at you, and he steaming mad, fuming, right? Like immediately starts casting arcane magic on himself to calm himself, because he's like so angry and is sort of yelling. He's yelling, and it's drowned out by the sound of chorus, as his magic is being cast. Um, there is a huge distraction from here on out, as Shagar can try and disarm this person without too much of an issue. Oh, I think you're muted, Dedo. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna try and disarm this guy. I'm gonna try and
Yeah,
sneak through the crowd to get a little closer to him.
let's go for
before
it.
I do, that would be accuracy with one of my daggers.
Yeah.
Okay, and I get things because I'm good with daggers.
Experts are great here. Adepts are great here.
Okay, it's a +1 to the roll. So 16.
These are great rolls today. I love it. Okay. It is a definite success. You do sneak clearly by and no one sees you, and you're able to disarm without being seen. The weapon is now kind of, unhanded, but the rest of the ghouls, as well as Dame Tressel, looks at you, and sort of has like an issue. He's like, shouldn't you be back in Kern? Why are you touching my entourage?
Why are you imposing yourself on these servants who are just trying to do their job?
Wait, so you
Your will
disarmed
is
this
not
other
theirs.
ghoul? And now you're asking about the servants? That's awesome. Okay. So she's like taken aback. She's like, no, I'm talking about this. Actually, guards. And she sort of like hands up. Ghouls arm themselves, and they point their spears at the other ghoul. It seems like she has no idea who this ghoul is, as Keen's distraction. Keen's, what's going on with you at this point? It's been a couple minutes.
Okay. So the priest is mad because mustache.
Yep.
But now, of course, I mean, Keen's just been bumping people who have wine onto like anyone, like onto other people, just ruining outfits. It's just like we're just gonna put a bunch of dominoes up and start knocking them down.
He's just like, okay, he's screaming at this point, blood red. There's so much. He just gets angrier and angrier up until the Jarzoni delegation approaches Keen, and it's none other than it's a man with heavy armor in the crest of the Theocracy of Jarzon, and looks right at you, Keen. Tells the priest not to make a fool of himself when in other people's houses. He apologizes to you for him causing such an issue, and then with a very stern, disappointed look of pain, turns to Vaelyn, who is standing nearby, and says, "Hello, my failure of a nephew. Good to see you again."
What's this world's equivalent of popcorn?
Yeah, like it finishes off by saying, "I see you've made friends with company better than yourself," referring to Keen. Yeah, the literal tea sip, like the literal tea sip.
There is just getting to full height. standing amongst the sovereign's finest, there is just this heel turn. And goes, "Ah, good to see you, dear uncle. I see you're making social faux pas again. Insulting Her Majesty's servants and Her Highness's tutor is always a way to make the best impression on a diplomatic mission."
You know I'm quite fair, Vaelyn. I stopped one in exchange for another.
Oh, we're back to that again. So, is that how you're buying my aunt out from under her own tongue?
Before you get in each other's faces some more, what happens with Dido happens. The ghoul is disarmed, and Dame Trestle and her ghoul entourage revert their spears back on this apparently unknown ghoul, and everybody, the attention starts to shift towards this unknown assailant. Many messengers, like one of every race and one from every kingdom, bursts through the main Blue Plaza doors, bringing parcels, some of broken buildings, some of body parts, some of foreboding scrolls, some of purple relics and shadow artifacts. It seems like they've been ferried here as quick as possible. It seems like with Aldia's most famous dignitaries and strongest personalities in one section, a coordinated attack across the world seems to be happening, and every kingdom is in some danger or another. Their delegations are immediately warned. Shadow gates opening across the forest kingdom of Weiss, completely under enemy control for at least the time being, or at least overrun, and kind of fighting it off where they've lost control of their region. Demons pouring out of the Shadow Barons, and other organizations making their moves. We are going to now go into the actually our break. We're going to take a 15-minute break, everybody. And then when we come
Dramatic
back, we will get to this crisis organization and see what these delegates have to do in model Aldean nations, I'm going to call it. Let's see what's going on in model Aldean nations. So that'll be our break. Hey everyone, and we're back to our second half of week 3 JONQUIL here in Blue Rose. So a near murder almost occurred and was stopped by our wonderful party here as the entire every single person in the Blue Plaza looks on what happens and everybody's personal drama is dropped for just a moment as messengers come bearing evidence from different kingdoms of catastrophes and crises happening all over, as well as the scribes behind them bringing the actual formal crises in the form of scrolls from leaders, usually heads of state, which are not the ones traveling. The ones traveling are honored dignitaries, usually of extremely high rank, but not literal heads of state. However, you're getting notes from a lot of them about what's going on. There was a ghoul. Well, actually, I'll just start off with Dame Tressel. Dame Tressel, a Kernish ghoul, looks upon with her ghoul entourage, spears pointed at an unknown ghoul traveling with her under the guise as one of her guard. An imposter. I know what you are. I can see it in your eyes. The ghoul looks up, orange marks burning deep in the eyes, and special curved blades from an organization known as the Silence, an assassin's guild essentially made to kill dignitaries and key players around Aldia, being used in political assassination employ, or at least the attempt thereof. This was supposed to go off without a hitch. I mean, come on. I see you parade yourself and these fools every day, back in Kern, and I figured, I'd take this job. Show you what's what. Seems like this ghoul already had lots of resentment for Lady Tressel.
You're not in Kern now, are you?
They just shoot you a look. It's obvious that you're unwelcome to them.
It's okay, she's shooting him the same look.
Yeah. It's always just this dripping salt, right? And it's good. The rest of the court looks on at this particular person, at this ghoul, and they kind of don't know what to do. The delegations immediately go to discussing with each other, and everybody starts to form their opinions on what's going on. Right now, the only confirmed crisis that is, currently happening or has happened is that back in the Pirate Isles, a band of pirates, the form of actually many small gangs, have taken over large portions of the Pirate Isles and are holding important trade lanes, sea lanes hostage. Right now, people are delegating whether they should send any help over to the Pirate Isles or deal with some of the harder issues that they're being faced with right now here at home, at least for the Aldian, people living in the city of Aldis. The party has a chance to reconvene and discuss before, coming up with their own conclusion. Each of you do represent an important part of either Aldis or another one of these kingdoms. You do have access to some sort of authority regarding each of these subjects, right? Combined, you can flex some real political power.
From his seat, looking at the ghoul that attempted to assassinate, Corvo will attempt to make psychic contact, just to create the connection. So that is just a flat roll against a 7, apparently.
Now, 1 second here.
There is a resistance to it of willpower.
Mm-hmm. Just so you're attempting to cast it. Regardless of the roll, in this particular case, we're actually going to default to something else. What does someone was prepared for an outcome as this, as as a very fixed member of the Sovereign's finest strikes you right away for using psychic contact.
All right.
Does a 20 break your defense?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. What is currently your armor reduction, your damage reduction?
Is it 15? Yeah, it's just 10. Oh, 13. I'm sorry, 13.
Oh, so 13 is your defense, but your armor should be usually a 3, 5, or 8.
Oh, it's a 3. My apologies.
It's a 3. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
great. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, because you're in depth. Let's see. Okay, so you take 9 damage from this sort of blunt hilt of a maul that one of the Sovereign's finest is using, and says, "You know, there is to be no psychic manipulation or contact, especially in the Blue Plaza. I don't care what this man was planning to do. He deserves the right to a fair trial and to be treated like a person." It seems like even if you find bad actors, you can't just exert will over them, unfortunately.
You are quite right. My apologies.
However, I mean, at this point, you could still do the psychic contact. I just wanted to establish that first. It still went through since you attempted it. I'll let you try for it. But it's just for the future. They definitely frown upon the psychic stuff. At least if they can see you, you know.
Got a total of 11.
Yeah, he fails.
Okay.
Right. What would you like to do?
So with the psychic contact made, immediately going to mind reading.
Wow. Yeah, his face wrenches a bit. As someone else sort of looks at it and says, "Hey, are you okay?" Like, they don't still think that you're casting it. They think that the hit was enough. They're not really using second sight or anything to look directly at you. You read that wow, that was definitely the play. The silence was hired by the cult of the Crimson Eye, and it seems that they've masterminded several crises to happen at the same time all across these different kingdoms, knowing that combined, especially if they argue, these kingdoms would not be able to find solutions to these problems, at least not all of them, right? And in fact, there's almost no situation in which that happens. The cult is definitely at fault here, but right now with this knowledge, you know that very soon you're going to get a lot more messengers with worse outcomes. The pirates are not the only one, basically.
If Keen and the tree captain allow psychic contact, Corvo will reach out to them. Expecting another hit, by the way. If they allow... Very well. Good tree captain. As I said, heavy decisions will be made this day.
I'm sorry.
The coordinated
and who are
attacks.
you mind reading?
This isn't, no, this is psychic contact, not mind reading.
Sorry.
Yeah. The coordinated attacks were arranged by what was the name of the group again? Crimson?
Yeah, the cult of the Crimson Eye.
A cult of the Crimson Eye. They suspected chaos would cause and ensue more chaos. I'm afraid, dear Captain, you must bring order to this. Keen, you seem very adept at social interactions. I supremely believe your wit will be necessary.
Keen's just been staring at Corvo, like, because this is all mental, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're just staring, like, trying to. Doesn't respond because she's stuck between. Do I think that's Corvo, or do I talk out loud? Don't know. This is she's completely unfamiliar with the sensation. I think eventually she'll just settle on a thumbs up, your general direction.
Corvo smiles and nods. But he will simply recoil and at that point and just nurse the wound that he has from the guard.
It definitely hits you. You're talking with one of your own, to him, basically who you came with, right? Your own party, your own delegation. And again, doesn't want to necessarily mess with that political powers. He's fine with it. Kind of walks off. So you know that, I don't know if you divulge the information or not, but currently the only thing on the table is are the pirates, and if anybody, if you want to tell the larger audience what's going on, since you know exactly what's going on with the ghoul. For now, they're discussing whether or not they even want to try and ask him questions and really put him through the ringer. When you're like, you already know everything.
I don't think he needs to be harshly questioned. And if there is such a thing, that we do not need to resort to physical violence. Torture is beneath us, especially in this place.
Apologies. You're correct. The other Sovereign's Finest kind of like, he like understands that he's going to receive like basically a demerit later. Kind of takes his licks, hops off.
If it really becomes desperate, I have a trick up my sleeve. But if that's necessary, we need to get the Kurnish delegation as far from where I am going to do that as earthly possible.
Loudly, the once reserved Palak Jason, Knight Captain for the Jarzoni delegation and leader of that entourage, starts to exclaim, "And I present to you, other delegates, the reason why we cannot trust the city folk of Aldis. These noble council study and sanction the use of sorcery along with the sovereign." First time that her like title is invoked, and definitely in a negative light. The Jarzoni delegation refuses to work further with the Aldis, but with the people of Aldis, if certain concessions regarding the use of sorcery is not made. Now, we understand these problems are dire, and it requires cooperation. But each of us right now has a strong desire to protect their own. We won't drop that. Just for the sake of unity.
So you're letting your bullheadedness get in the way of your own divinity. You're violating your own codes. The greater good comes first. To make such paltry demands in the face of such evil is to contribute to said evil. Or did you fail out of Confessor School yet again?
I, a captain I've become, a soldier, sent here by the rest of the church because they have better things to attend to.
Yes.
But I posit you this.
What police?
The greater good is defined by what you think of it and what you value. Clearly, we did not have the same valuations, and you ended up here probably studying the same.
I do not
The greater
use
good to
sorcery
me.
as I understand the toll that it takes and demands, and that it will take, corrupt, bend, and break. I know my lessons
I know nothing
well.
of my nephew. How could you? My nephew is dead.
Good to know. But, be that as it may, you are talking to a ghost now. One who knows a litany of the family's secrets. And your own failures. Now, you can see reason and do what is just right by not just Jarzoni, but all the peoples. Or you can hold to your bitterness and damn us all. And I'm looking now past him to the rest of the delegation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You would
I
let
was gonna
this
say.
lesser, one who has failed in the trials multiple times, has had to settle for a captaincy, speak for all of them.
The Kernish delegation and the Lartian delegation say that they, almost in unison, I guess as a result of psychic contact with each other, say that they concur with Palak. The Kernish delegation, authorized by me, Tressel, refused to participate in the problems and crises of Aldis when we have our own problems to deal with. Clearly, there are spies in my court. Who knows how many more I must weed out. Lady Colonera, Hagenclaw of the Lartian, also declare that although she is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, her allegiance comes to the Lartian first. Of course, it's what her caste system has taught us, has taught her. And at the end of the day, it's still more important than these side treaties. However, if concessions will be made, if we do this in the correct order, we are open to discussion, whereas Palak seems very closed. Vaelyn, make a roll or use some spells if you want to try and convince crowd members or more of the, I guess, lower dignitaries to sort of, this guy has a point.
I will say a little bit more, and then I'm going to use an auto success, if you allow.
You send it on off. You capture the hearts and minds. Oh, please,
I
yeah,
wanna say
no.
one last thing. I'm just going to go to both those, and then going to turn to the other dignitaries. Fire in the eyes. I am going to use light manipulation to pretty much give off a divine glow, as well as a little bit of the actual divine glow, because fuck the Kerns. And with as much holy fire and brimstone that I can bring down. So, You fools will see the damnation of this kingdom so that it follows the ruination of the old. Your selfishness and short-sightedness will bring ruin to not just Aldis, but your own doorsteps. It is only by working together that any of us have a chance against the threats that will face us and do face us. It is only through cooperation that we have but hope and love to stand on. Or shall you cower with the corruption in your hearts and be like the king who was defeated by the sovereign and all of a sudden wither and die on the vine, staring straight at the Kurnish delegation?
With the most absolute cynicism, dire, like just tone of direness, just dripping. They stand there stunned. Suddenly a voice from the crowd chants out, Yuval, leader of the Ifala tribe, representing the delegation of Rizea, chime in to say that we concur with Vaelyn. Aldis is correct. We must stand together. Look at my scarred and beaten body as like a gap opens up. 70 years worth of moons that I have gazed upon my time here in the world of Aldea. And the gods have been kind to me, praise the seven. But the witches that I call my leaders and the places that are my home cannot exist without the support of larger kingdoms and the help of a strong foreign policy. This is why I was chosen as the delegate for Rizea, and I'm proud to do my duty now. Vaelyn is correct. Suddenly, a crisis note comes in. Brigands and criminals, separate from the pirates, aligned in the Pirate Isles, have crossed Rizean borders and now sack villages near them. Innocent Rizeans are dying. Look, you see, my warriors are willing to fight, but we cannot deal with all these problems independently.
At this point, Aspen will step up onto a table dramatically and say, honored dignitaries and representatives of various powers. This is not a time to be divided. I know that you are all concerned with your own kingdoms, and you have every right to be. But do you honestly think that this is a coincidence that so many things have happened at once? Obviously, there is some sort of intent by some group or individual pushing these things. We need to work together because they would not be doing it to all of us if it was not their goal to divide us. We have a responsibility to protect those who need it and to work together for the mutual benefit of everyone. Whatever is moving against us can only be stopped by us moving together against us as one, as a single point to drive through whatever armor they may put forth against us.
This is
At the end of that, Shagar is going to stomp up on a table and raise a glass and just go, "Oh, Captain, my Captain!"
And Vaelyn will look to his fellows in the Sovereign Host. This kind of violates protocol, but at the same time, Vaelyn feels the momentum in this moment with Aspen's speech, and draws his short sword and salutes Aspen. And looks back to his brothers to do the same.
This is a big deal. Corvo, I see in the back, has also used a spell to amplify your presence during this. This salute is enough on its own. Aspen, I'm assuming you're using an auto success?
If I have one, sure.
Yeah, you know, you do. I believe you still have all three. So, that's fine, right? Fine. I've heard enough. Clearly, I don't require further evidence. What you say is enough sense, and I'm sure as time goes on, I'll find more and more evidence. Lady Colonera Hagenclaw has reneged on her position of solidarity with the Kernish delegation, and they side now with the city of Aldis. Okay. There is absolutely no way this would be happening without multiple actors. And even with all of us, there is still a rare chance we will not have enough to fend off truly the horrors upon each of our kingdoms combined. With that being said, our power belongs to the coalition. It seems like things are going well. The Kernish delegation screams. Dame Trestle. This rogue, this scallywag, pointing at Aspen. Come on, everyone. Do you really take these outcasts, like ex-members of these societies, for truly what they're saying at face value? We don't know if they're in league with them. For me, I need proof before I put any Kernish soldiers behind what's going on. And so far, I just have hearsay. The Kernish vote to defend themselves. We stand by it. So you've gotten 2 out of 4. Before the door opens again with another crisis note, and then we'll go into some actual resolutions before additional happens. But this is a dire situation. Jarzon is under attack by a criminal organization known as the Shadow Guild. It seems like the Jarzoni are under a lot of debt, and these plutocrats working with the Jarzoni have kind of taken, all these, have come to collect all their debts, and in doing so have collected a large amount of political power coming from Jarzon. Enough that they're able to exude such influence over the territory and perhaps lose, territory for the church, territory for the people who live with the church. Like, it's for them, for the theocrats, a nightmare. Suddenly, Palak changes his tone. All right, hold on, let's not get so wild here. Jarzon might request the aid of others if it seems like more of you than not are willing to join it. But I still need additional convincing. I need
Your
to see
additional
results,
convincing is
however.
your own folly, as you find the wolves on your door because of your opulence.
Results, Vaelyn. The thing you could never bring me, you need to bring it to me now if you wish my aid. These
I am
words
going
will not
to,
serve
as a
you.
show, and also just a giant middle finger to him, as I rush right up, I am going to use the Divine Light and just glow with the thing that they can't do. This is just an action I can perform. Anything that has corruption in its heart or is corrupt needs to make a will DC TN 16 test or run.
Yo, this is super bad. Let me roll real quick.
I have no time for corruption or fools, and I will suffer
No time.
neither.
Okay. A pass from the important actor here in the arena who would have run, who is now not going to run. However, you do see lower dignitaries running. Now, the door opens, like at the top of the plaza. The door to the actual palace finally swings open. And as soon as that light touches everybody's eyes, as many of you who are able to bow immediately. Sovereign Jalen. Shagar is allergic. The door shines open, the light hits you. Sovereign Jalen walks out, and in a beautiful, formal, elegant fashion, the sovereign with the power of the golden heart, the sum of everybody in Aldia's goodwill and all the positive energy centered into her core, speaks with the voice of 1,000, like call-outs, basically. Those who run truly do not have us in their hearts. They have not contributed to the Golden Heart and don't give it the love it needs, it deserves. Arrest them. As the Blue Rose kicks its ass into 9th gear and arrests as many of these nobles as possible. They're, in this case, fully arrested and now given sanction by the sovereign herself. They ransack the shit out of their things, and they take all of the notes, deeds. It seems like many of these lower dignitaries were actually corrupt nobles. Aldis born, Aldis background, enemies at home, making land deals, trading weapons, arms. The records for 1,000 soldiers, right, are found just within these lower dignitaries. And it is probably guessed that at least some of the higher dignitaries are that corrupt. There is a concern here. Lock them, and the finest go and sweep, close all of the doors, and lock everybody inside the Blue Plaza. No one leaves until the truth is revealed. Only then will Aldia continue to exist as it has, and we will all continue to be happy and prosper. A little like dominating, pretty scary, but at the same time, like it's objectively good, at least by Blue Rose's definition. She wields the scepter of the Blue Rose, and like kind of its cyan hue, gazing upon everybody as it swings by you. She speaks with it. The delegations go right to solving. There are currently several crises up and only so many resources to send. You're not exactly sure until you ask around, but a quick reminder of what crises we have on the table that you would like to solve. Essentially, this is going to be a priority like system. You're just going to tell me which ones you'd like to prioritize and then make a check or two to push that in the court, right? The order you pick will definitely be the most important. But information you find, such as right now, will potentially speed them up. The corrupt nobles of Aldis were a huge factor, and they've already been revealed as a result of
Anybody
Vaelyn's
I know?
spell here. I would say that none. It's more of an absence. None of the Kernish delegates moved. Everybody else, every other kingdom.
Do I know any of the oldest delegates that did?
Does any? I'm not sure. Does anybody come to mind?
My family.
No. Your family is not.
Okay.
is not involved, right? Thankfully, you know, yeah, your status is well remain. If anything, maybe like a half uncle like twice removed is in the distance, like, wow, ain't that some shit? Like, you know, about what's going on. Like,
Okay.
definitely not. I would have never guessed it. He's like a very honorable person, and you know, really just has had no business in that.
Well, at
So
least that's
thankfully,
good news.
it's true. That being said, so order's most important. Let's go to what's on the table currently. We have brigands and criminals in Rizea attacking border cities for resources, and we have pirates in the Pirate Isles um, taking over big stretches of land and cutting off important sea lanes for needed supplies. The corrupt nobles were one such crisis, but you have found it preemptively and wrenched its from it, you know, from the gut of where you are currently, and therefore is not something to worry about. So you've already solved a single crisis, um, as well as number three being the Shadow Guild in Jarzon taking over with just straight cash. All they care about is money. What is the delegation? What does your delegation say to each other?
I think, and this is going to seem sided as someone who runs a boat for a living, that for any type of cooperative action, the first priority needs to be settling the matter in the Pirate Isles. If we can reestablish peace there and establish positive um, relations with the powers otherwise, it's going to ensure that any sort of transport of people and supplies will be not only uninterrupted but expedited. And in any sort of coordinated action on a large scale, that's going to be necessary.
Make a good point. Plus, if their blockades go on for too long, you have people starving. Can't let that stand. So, clearing the shipping lanes is a priority. I would say next on the docket would be dealing with the brigands of the borders, considering the Rhydan are noble and true, and if we want to have noble and true warriors to aid in whatever conflict is coming, their borders need to be clear.
I agree.
As for the funds for Jarzoni, and possibly military intervention, it is necessary, but it is not a dire priority. Some funds can be cobbled together in the meantime to deal with the smaller debts, or the ones that are most pressing, from the wealthy delegates here and the assets seized from the nobility were found to be corrupt. That can be quickly auctioned off, and those funds can then be sent to Jarzon.
Frankly, and perhaps this is a bit cold, but it might be worth offering help as a bit of a carrot. Um, if the Jarzoni wish our help with their matters, we can agree to help with others. Otherwise, if they've turned their back on the coalition, they've turned their back on the coalition.
More than fair. I'm just trying to find a solution to their problem that doesn't pull resources from the places that we need the most. Considering we just been given a gift by the gods, seeing those corrupt seized, their assets can go to help the Jarzoni, but we don't need to necessarily offer that up until they agree. Corvo, Shagar, insights?
My travels through the forest have completed, and I have seen the trees that are available to me. I believe my participation is largely over. The ripples have begun. It is you lot that will see the end of this.
I am
Keen.
not one
ahead, Shagar.
for getting into politics. But I have escorted my fair share of delegates through some unsavory border patrols. I have to agree with our captain. I think that making sure that our naval avenues are kept clear. People will dispute land and borders even once we are able to ascertain, accommodate whatever we're able to do.
Good point. Keen? Insights?
No, I mean, honestly, I'm more adept at starting problems than ending them, honestly. But I do legitimately agree with the order we've laid out so far.
You said you're good at starting problems. And Vaelyn smiles. This is the first time he smiled.
Yes.
I have a problem for you to start.
Oh.
The Kern delegation seems to be holding out for proof. If you could start a problem that makes it so that they're not quite so stuck in the mud, and have a more pressing need to play ball, would be most excellent before all the delegations meet back up. Now, would you like to be visible for this problem or less visible for this problem?
Oh, visible, of course. Always easier when you can look problem in eye.
Just nods. Do you want to seem less threatening or more?
Is that the question?
Yes. Like, do you want to seem more, friendly or more frightened?
Do I come? Actually, I would come off as friendly towards you. Yes, more threatening.
More threatening. Oh, we can do that.
Yes.
And I would like to use light shaping.
Yes.
And I am going to give Keen, because we're dealing with the Kerns. The Kerns hate light. An inner divine glow to them, but at the same time, at the edge of that glow, the shadows are going to be even starker, just to enhance the light. So, just going to completely bend it and maintain, and I'll burn another auto success on this effect.
Yep. For the auto success, along with the description, it will make it easier for Keen to speak with the Kurnish delegation, because the light will throw them off, but they're also just more likely to take her seriously because of the shadows. So it's kind of a both ways sort of bonus. Very powerful. So it seems like we've agreed on an order. It seems like we're doing Pirate Isles, followed by Brigands and Criminals, followed by Shadow Guild. But
Yeah.
prior to how that works out, so we'll just do it like this. There'll be like one major activity per day. We'll sleep. We'll wake up back in the Blue Plaza and figure out what's changed in that day, where the next thing happens, right? And do that until the crises are resolved, essentially. This is your chance to, if you wanted to stab people in between, if anybody wanted to be particularly dark, you could, that kind of thing, right? So whichever way you want to take it. Okay, so for today, we'll fix Pirate Isles. Prior to Pirate Isles, Keen, you're going to figure out what's going on with the Kurnish delegation. So
That is correct.
Dame Trestle is fanning herself and having like one of her ghoul guards like use his jaw to fan her. Just takes it off real quick, uses it. It's like really effective. And I'll put it back on. What do you want? Are you even of enough of a cast to be able to address a delegation? I'm not sure how that works, but
Is this the dame saying this to Keen, or is this?
yeah. This is the person who is definitely not okay. Probably the least accepting and tolerant of any of these delegates.
You know, I think I figured out why your mouth gets you into so much trouble and you have basically no allies here. Now, I want to come here and help you be less screwed over. That's what I want to do. But what you need to do first is change how you talked to me. So, why don't you go ahead and change the first thing you said to me? You get one revision. One. Try again.
No roll required, no auto success required. The light shaping is enough, right? She looks right at you and is like, she feels fear in her heart, and is like, I'm sorry, I didn't get a good look at you. Clearly, you're of a stature to speak to me, and she like pretends to bow, almost bows but doesn't. And then she's like, one of the ghouls is like, should the Shadow 7 be bowing to like other demons? Like head of state over here. She's scared, and everybody like laughs essentially. Like anybody who wasn't, I mean, just the people who were arrested were arrested. That doesn't mean that this is a prison. This is still a collection of extremely powerful aristocrats whose livelihoods depend on gossiping about each other and generally being cutthroat. So this is a definite loss of political power for her in the center amongst so many delegates. Keen has just absolutely wiped the floor with her, right? Which you love to see it. She's like, okay, listen, he's a ghoul, right? And turns to the Sovereign. Yes, that is correct, Jalen responds. Okay, so if he came from my jurisdiction, let me change what happens to him. I don't care if anyone reads his mind. Just do it. Jalen's like...
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. No, the Sovereign is just like, wow, okay. I mean, I guess if you're okay with that, but Keen...
Yeah, okay, that's what she was like, oh, you're okay with that? Okay, that makes it easier.
Yeah. It's basically, yeah, that's exactly what she said. Oh, is that what Keen was going to say also?
Yes, that was Keen. Just like
okay.
that solves one issue.
Yeah, no, exactly, right. It seems like it's been enough time that they, and this massive success from Keen regarding that. I mean, you needed proof some way. The only proof there could possibly be would be from this spy. So Trestle turns down his superiority, because of this great check, and basically, is happy to give up that citizen. Immediately, You have Blue Rose adepts like in that dude's brain, like super fast. They find out exactly what's going on and they report Cult of the Crimson Eye. They discuss amongst themselves before they bring it to Trestle, whispering. Guards, send a raven immediately, and like each of her entourage does so. About 10 ravens fly out in the direction towards towards Kern, and kind of figuring out what's going on back home while they've been gone. It's been a couple weeks anyway. Surely, nothing would have happened in that time period, right? So that's that lead up for tomorrow. And the one that you solve would be Pirate Islands. So whoever wants to, pump up the crowd and convince them to save the Pirate Isles first. I have a good guess of probably who it'll be, but step right up.
I mean, if no one else does, I guess I will. I know that many of you may not have much respect for the people of the Pirate Isles, but every spice that you put on your food, every bullet that's loaded into a pistol, every bandage, every herb that isn't native to your lands has come here through a ship. If we are to work together to stop whatever this Cult of the Crimson Eye is, it is going to require not just boots on the ground, but things to move. The ocean is a terrifying mistress, but she is also a tool that we can all use to make ourselves and our efforts stronger. And the best way to do that is to make sure that the easiest lanes are in stable hands. If we work together to resecure the Pirate Isles, we can ensure easy and swift movement of everything that we need to go wherever we need to ensure that we will crush whatever aims this cult has. And I can assure you that they are not good.
I was gonna ask that it could have been, it didn't have to be a speech, it could have been any kind of role, maybe even like a performance check or something like that. However, it was a beautiful speech, and I am deeply moved. Of course, no role required for such an amazing, like, just an amazing speech. Um, most of them look up at you and they're sort of like, okay, they're exactly correct. If we don't get our shit in check, we're gonna lose all these supplies right quick, and then we can't even send any troops anywhere for some of the harder issues. The Pirate Isles go first. Off go 3 galleons, and expecting them to take about a day to come to go there, basically, with all the enchantments and spells that the adepts are putting on them, get them there and get them back quickly. Now, the big thing about this is you can choose to shorten the length of the time it would take if you send your galleon. It might not come back. It might come back. But this could potentially speed up the process by adding 25% additional boom power.
I actually had intended on doing that anyway.
Wow. Please describe how this beautiful ship sets sail off into the horizon before as the day sets, and we give away to Crisis Day 2.
I will take some time addressing the crew and basically tell them that I know that soldiering isn't the first thing on their minds, but we have a chance to help the entire world. and that's worth it. I wish that I could go with you, but unfortunately, it seems like maneuvering in court and surfing much rougher waves is where I am stuck. But to my capable first mate, I entrust not my ship, but all of your lives, and by proxy, the lives of many, many others. Because I trust you all so deeply. And I will stand by on the pier and watch as they sail away.
Before they even, Captain, they're just gonna give you a hug, like literally the whole crew. Once again, throw off the hats. Some pieces of underwear land on you too. They're just like, we'll come back, and then they sail off like with emblazoned passion. Temperature's so hot that tears stream right off their faces and evaporate off. They go off into the sunset, hoping that they'll get back sooner than later, and you'll be able to help with an additional problem come tomorrow. The day ends. You awaken back in the plaza, eating a wonderful feast befitting of dignitaries of your stature. Anything you want from any of the kingdoms that you can eat, and if anybody wants to say what a particular item would be that they're going to have every morning, that would be fine. If not, though, that's okay. As we greet the new day and see what has returned. Now, for this second day, the ravens return from Kern. There's about half of them that there were before, and the other half have some bite marks, as well as what seems to be like purple burn marks. There's some combat veteran animals. They made it through strong. They're protected by enchantments from adepts that protect them from any real danger, and like they have like barding. They're like basically combat ravens made bred specifically for this purpose. They come back and they shout out, "What? Invasion! What?" They're essentially calling out that the cult of the Crimson Flame has started open attacks in Kern. That this was supposed to be the lead up to. This will be a new crisis, as in fact the ships do return earlier than on schedule. By this point, the cavalry and the infantry are following roamer guides and kind of spread throughout the different kingdoms, so that land strike forces, basically could be used around these different kingdoms. In addition to that, the galleons have returned. So you have both, sea conquer and land conquer. And that's where we're at for today. The current crises that still exist, so there's brigands and criminals in Rizea. There's the Shadow Guild in Jarzon, and now confirmed invasion of the Cult of the Crimson Eye in Kern. I think that we were still on Brigands and Criminals second. So if that plan is still the same.
At the same time, what invasion in what number and complement? Like, is this massed infantry? Are these guerrillas? Or do they have adepts at their disposal? What are we dealing with here?
You asked the Raven specifically. Trissel pushes you out of the way and is like, "Tell me, like I want to know," and like starts to heal the Raven. The Raven's like, "Walk, thank you." Calls out. It seems like it's purely sorcerers blowing stuff up, but they're using Old Kingdom relics and tech to do it. They're also summoning small shadow gates, not similar to the big one that was discovered in the Pavenwield. Not enough for a whole army to come through, but enough for strike forces to take key areas and basically cripple Kern in that regard. So. Ooh, hi Raiders! We are in some model Aldean nations right now, as we take care of very, very tense political problems, and figure out who gets what. Vaelyn, what do you got?
After hearing the response from the Raven, he just kind of breaks off hearing the news, seeming very conflicted, and we'll walk up to Keen, and I'm of two minds on the matter. Kern is definitely in greater peril than Rhydan, but if we actually solved Rhydan's problems, Rhyzani warriors are tremendous. Small in number, but worth typically 3 infantrymen for every one of them. Being able to send them problems in Kern probably solve the problem. But at the same time, getting the Kernish to do anything that doesn't put them as a priority is going to be pulling teeth.
Well, it's very obvious. Do the Rhyzani. They spoke first. Simple.
Boom.
You can agonize over it, or you can make a decision.
Anyone else have thoughts on this matter?
There's only one Kernish. Yeah, there's only one other Kernish citizen here, in your delegation at least.
Anyone? Well, that silence speaks volumes. Yes, Rhydan still hold priority.
Who would like
So
to
I guess
fight
that's
on
what we'll
behalf
push
of
for.
Brazil? Yep.
So who would like to speak? Who would like to press for the Rhydan?
And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a speech, although I love them. They can just be, you know, a check themselves, and that's sufficient. Or it could be something else if you had something else in mind.
Right, just on understanding that. So the asses is like, okay, who wants to perhaps say something in favor of like, let's help the Rhydan? Sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the point we're at. Is someone has to do something to move the group towards helping the Rhydan.
Oh, speeches are hard, though. Sure.
Yeah,
you know what?
You don't have to. You really.
Stage whisper style.
Oh.
You know, I think it's so admirable that the Rhydan were really the first tool to really reaffirm this alliance, and I think it's very clear, no matter what the situation is, loyalty should always be rewarded, and to suggest otherwise, to suggest that loyalty doesn't matter, would really speak volumes about the character of whoever said that, regardless of what delegation they may represent. But you know, that's just if you don't care what people think in a political situation, well, that's a personal choice.
I love them, and I will always take a speech as an auto success. Again, not required, but I will take it as an auto success, so you do.
Absolutely.
For sure, Yuval, the leader of the Afala tribe of the Rhyzani, look at you and they're like, he just starts like hugging, like the air, and you know he doesn't want to crush on your face, but he's just so happy. He's like the 70-year-old, like tribal man who's traveled a long way, and he's like, this person knows what's going on, how to be kind. and like he gets a kick out of it. He's like, yeah, the Rhyzani did this. Like they're the ones who are gonna get credit for saving like Aldia right now. Like and maybe we'll get some more help from these damn delegations, right? Because otherwise it's not worth it. I'd rather just chill back there. Um, they're very happy about it. The Rhyzani chime in. Yuval is like, of course, listen to Keen. You know, Lartian and looks over at Lady Calinera and is like, listen, this one deserves a high place in your entourage. Part of this is that you must give her the appropriate reward, whether it be in gold or title. Whether she denies it or not is up to her. But do it.
I think in Lardian, still stage whisper style, just like, I mean, if we are, I think it should be very clear if we all know our proper place in life, what the proper reward is.
Calinera's like, he's like obviously rolling, like her eyes, just like, okay, but you're completely correct though. You deserve it, like. And just like Hobbs is like, okay, yep, that's the way the rules work. Like, you've done it. And so she's like, okay.
I mean, Key left.
Lartian...
That doesn't mean she doesn't know how learning works. She's like, I know how it works. I just got tired of it.
It's just like she's like, ugh, like. It's like you've beat me in my own game essentially. The matriarchy acquiesces, and a title, an estate, and gold will be given to Keen if she so wishes. And she sends back like there's no galleons, so she sends back some people in a very small boat, like almost a canoe, to paddle really really fast and start designing the estate like already, like just gotta get on it. They just they start hopping on it and they go all the way back, or try to back through the Isles. That's done. The Rizayans are sent basically. They require 2 military forces. Currently at your disposal, you have 3 military forces. You have actually the Lartian Matriarchy, which have not mobilized anybody yet, although they'd be happy to do so. And you're using Rizayas still under wraps, and you're using your the galleons and the land units that were around. So two units of basically military troops. You can speed it up by having the Lartians send their 3rd one there as well, and maybe do it in less than a day so that they get back by the same day. Same thing like last time. Or you can send the Lartian somewhere else if you want to send them to Kern or anywhere else.
We could try to get some goodwill going by sending the Lardians to help hold the fort in Kern while the Rizaya is dealt with.
Yeah, it depends how moderate you want to be.
While it may be able to get some small,
they would just get close.
Yeah. I would say actually send the cavalry to Kern. Have the galleons issue support to the Lartians, and send them to deal with the Raison. That way, if there's a fallback point or people need to be evac'd, they can go to the ships.
This is super creative.
Well thought.
Yeah, I am taken aback. I have come up with an appropriate reward. The Lartian looks at you, Vaelyn. Lady Calinera is like, clearly you understand the strategy of warfare, and without you, we wouldn't be as effective or as efficient in getting our territory back. Hopefully, being ahead means that we get to solve later issues a little bit faster. We will be more organized by the time that something worse comes. And you feel secure about the next couple instances as well. Or at least like the coming days. Okay. So under that formation, it's sent out. Another day ends. You wake up. Day 3 of Crisis in Aldea. At this point, we're going to start off before the actual news drop of the day and figure out what's going on with Shagar and Corvo. What are you guys thinking about relating to who should come next or why?
Um, Shagar is not smart, so she is very bored and very confused at all of
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that she comprehended was sending the cavalry and using the ships uh, for refugees, only because she, in her head, she knows that there's already a trail to the waters from Kern because she's marked it. But yeah, when they start getting into big politics, she's playing with her daggers.
Just
She
drops
doesn't
it.
really know what's going. Yeah.
Is Corvo in a similar position?
Oh, am I? Oh, I am free. All right. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was muted or not. Corvo, he is only because he seems confused now. Up until the delegation started, he always knew exactly where to be, even in the crowd, as blind as he appears to be. But now he's just keeping very much to himself and simply aside on the sidelines of the processions going on, not knowing exactly where he fits here now.
Sort of wards off for a bit. As Corvo and Shagar kind of scratch their heads in unison about what exactly is going on. Whereas Keen, Vaelyn, and Aspen are like at the command table with the maps out, like moving bricks to another direction, yeah, with a long stick of some kind, essentially. The day begins. The galleons return with many, many survivors, and you actually look down from upon the blue the blue plaza, as you look down at the docks, and you see hordes of Rhydan refugees coming out, thankful that they seem to be okay, and many of them seem together. Not many families like separated. This is kind of working out like perfect, uh, as the way that Vaelyn described it. They do get there early as a result, and the soldiers do not return from the matriarchy. So you're not exactly, it's not necessarily enough. It might need some more assistance there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing bad. So at that point, the last crises will appear, which I'll just go ahead and say it. But this will be the last crises for our particular example, and once this one is solved, you've done it. Essentially, this last one has to do with these shadow gates. It was the core of the reason why anything happened. A messenger and his scribe appear with satchels and satchels of active shadow gate material from different kingdoms. It seems like they've been collected, sent to a central location, and then rushed to the Blue Plaza as fast as possible to get to the delegations. By this point, news has really picked up across the kingdom about what's going on, and why, and everybody's trying to actively help out at this point. Sovereign Jalen, who makes basically one daily appearance, grows brighter with each passing day, showing that the goodwill of the several kingdoms are funneling directly into Jalen as the light gets stronger and Shagar's allergy to sun is only worsened and sneezes more and more. What a beautiful way to look at that. That's it. It's just this last. It's these shadow gates that are appearing. It seems that they're appearing in the lands of the Shadow Barons, which are alongside Jarzon to the north, and to the south, the Forest Kingdom of Weiss. So, as we heard kind of at the beginning, Weiss was under attack. It still is. It's only worsened, and at this point, they really can't they can't fend it off anymore without additional reinforcements. So, but like this is probably going to be the hardest one, the one that requires the most military power.
I believe
That's the...
this may be where I can help.
Ooh.
Please.
I have known for some time that my tree is coming to an end and is falling soon. I have never known what that end would be, but I see it clearly in my eyes now. As the gates. You give me the pieces, I will take it to the gates. I will go to the other side.
Oh.
That is where my story will end.
You should not go alone. And
At the minimum.
I would like to do something that's probably not intended. Hold that thought, Corvo. Got an idea. And Vaelyn's going to go off and do something he probably shouldn't. He's going to ask an audience with the Queen. As one of the sovereign hosts, he can petition for that.
Auto success?
Yeah.
Easier?
We're
You do.
we're So, if he's able to get a moment with Jalen,
Mm-hmm.
he is going to say this. There are many crises that we are facing. We can solve two at once, but I need your help. I need permission to send 5 of the sovereign host with Corvo off to Weiss and deal with this problem once and for all. Give me 5 of your best. They may not return, but this problem will be set right.
I have chosen, or so I thought at the beginning, to lay back and let the other kingdoms of this world deal with their problems in unison. But I see now that that won't happen without catalysts, agents for change such as yourself, Vaelyn. Keep your head held up high, for remember that you are always one of my finest. I have not been as surgical as maybe I could have been, but I will involve myself now. She sends her top 3 fighters with full combat capability. Now, these 3, you asked for 5. These 3 will be all that you'll need. They are known as the Alden Guard. Truly, these champions take my name and carry it to the ends of Aldis, and send it along with Corvo. These are essentially the 3 strongest champions that she has, which are essentially like the Sovereign's like chosen champions. If there's any chance of you coming back, it'll be with them. But we'll see how that goes later. Corvo, what do you say before you leave?
I look to Shagar. When we met you mentioned a name. What was it? A friend of yours.
Nelly.
Nelly. I can see the connection now.
Nelly. Can't make the M
Oh,
sound with these teeth.
I can see the connection now. When all of this is over, I would find them. I feel they miss you. They may not say it, though.
I'm gonna pull out the same dagger I used to disarm. What was her name? Dame. The Dame?
The
Dame's,
assassin.
the assassin
That's true.
ghoul. When you find them, and she presents it to him, kind of ceremoniously. This will either be of service to you or to her. And you were right. I only needed one dagger in these coming days. And I will give over my beloved dagger. I hope that this is not as you say in the end. Because for a wheel to turn, it needs all of its spokes.
You are a kind soul, Shagar. Beautiful, from tusk to toe. You continue to fight. I drew a card today. Well, a few days ago. It was a card I had seen a long time ago. A card that has popped up more times than I care to count. But thank you for your gift.
I too drew a card. And she'll actually pull the card that she drew because she's kept it on her. And I too drew a card. It was the Wheel of Chalices, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, usually this means an either or, but I think what it meant was and. It was a great gain to have known you. And if I never see you again, it will be a great loss.
The wheels shall keep turning. Life and death and rebirth.
I will visit
I
you
have
in
no
the
doubt
forest.
that the Ravenswood will keep me safe.
I will.
Tree Captain. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna bring Corvin in for a hug.
Oh, he'll hug.
Hug
Thank
before
you.
the send-off is always a
Shagar.
good idea.
Tree Captain, I want to thank you.
For what?
Your roots, they've given a good foundation. They have allowed all of this to happen. Well done.
You're welcome.
Vaelyn, thank you for your help and your leadership. I would recommend you never let your family insult you again. You are far too good for that. I wish you luck in your
Oh,
quest beyond
gods.
this one.
We will meet again, Corvo.
And Keen. Oh, we will not, but I appreciate it all the same.
Maybe
And
not
King,
this life.
maybe not. Yes. You were new to me. It was interesting. I knew nothing of you. It was as if you weren't supposed to be here. And yet here you are. I suspect, before this is all over, you will be the reason, that we win. So, congratulations.
I wasn't supposed to be here? I'm great at parties. Who wouldn't want me here? That's such a rude thing to say. Why would you ever say that to someone? Honestly. I'm the buddy? I'm the killjoy? You're killing Joy over here. So rude. No, you're gonna strange. This is ridiculous. I hate it.
It's delightful. I like her very much.
And with that, and apologies on the name, it was the Sovereign's Council is sent off with you. The 3 members, as these statesmen, generals, both are, leave the Blue Palace and the Blue Plaza with you, and that's Corvo off to stop a whole crisis by himself.
I think that we owe Corvo the duty to make the best of what he is about to do. We should send troops into, what is it? The besieged forest kingdom, that if Corvo is able to stop the shadow gates, then the troops that we send in will be able to push from the other side and clear the kingdom. It's a chance to strike from both ends and cut them off.
In that case, we should send the rhydan. Send the rhydan in the
Yeah.
ships.
In the morning, yeah, exactly. As you say that, Vaelyn, you get like a rhydan messenger, and it's like, border towns retaken, like rye horses and rhydan warriors riding across the fields, like with spoils of what the brigands took from them in the first place, ready to be deployed. And exactly.
Yeah, send the rhydan and ships to assist with Vice. Whatever other forces available should be sent to Kern to support the cavalry that's there. And buy Kern more
concur.
time.
So as we are nearing a little bit towards the end, we will forego speeches unless you really want to for the days, and we'll just start going through some of the days and seeing how these crises work out in general. So with that in mind and that kind of military structure that you send, you're focusing mostly on Weiss. The Shadow Gates have been taken care of, and Kern. By the beginning of the next day, Kern is saved, and the cult of the Crimson Eye has been repelled back into the mountains. Now, they are definitely not gone, and they plan on launching an attack soon, scouts say. But they are not in any current danger, not like these other crises. Kern is saved. With the help of galleons, troops, the lack of the Shadow Gates, as well as their own forces, the Forest Kingdom of Weiss is able to repel them as well, and finally start getting in like troops and supplies. Now that the sea lanes have been kind of reopened, and the Pirate Isles are also really assisting with like everything and letting a lot of these galleons get from side to side every day. Done. You get towards the end here, where really there's only one crisis left. The Shadow Guild affecting Jarzon. Now, Dame Tressel is completely flabbergasted and says, I have no idea how I ended up in this situation, but Keen, Shagar, you are in charge of helping to defend Kern in the future. Now, this is the correct judgment. It has been shown to me through trial and error here. I apologize for what rudeness and immorality I brought when not considering all of us. It seems like all of the kingdoms may yet leave relatively unscathed and rebuild quickly because we responded in unison on the first day. I realized this was a nearly impossible outcome, and for the first time since this coalition started, all delegations concur. You now have Kern forces, at least the ones I can spare, to assist with whatever you need. The only crisis left is Jarzon, but Palak, yelling from his pigeon coop, is the only last obstacle, kind of in his own way. He's angry and yelling at most of the delegates for having put aside their differences. Jarzon is broke. Seems like they've taken so much of it, of the gold, and ran away, stashed it, blew it up, threw it in the mountain. He has no idea how they'll ever recover from this, and he's going around screaming in different delegates' faces in front of the sovereign, no less, until he finally arrives at his dead nephew, Vaelyn's side, and speaks to him. I hope you can hear me, Vaelyn, from the other side in which you reside. I have no idea how we ended up so trite, so broken. But I too hope that in a later future, in a later life, such as that touching moment I saw with your probably now dead friend Corvo, that we too can rebuild that familial bond in the future.
Can I stab
Just the
him?
absolute. The other, of course, everybody's laughing. The other delegations are treating him awfully. Yep, the Keen T-sip, which I love so much, is every single time Keen has taken a T-sip, it's been like super on point. This is definitely one of those T-sip moments. He still needs to okay. Yeah, please, no, please.
By that response, only by the grace of you recognizing Celine and her divinity will you ever have a chance at reconciliation. And I know that is beyond a worm like you. Wallow in your filth, small-mindedness, and pray that in the next life you may be born a badger, something that is inherent in its understanding, family, cleanliness, and simple joys.
For the first time, the Jarzon delegation, some of their delegates, some of their lower delegates were arrested in the first corruption purge, which was done very effectively also by Vaelyn and Corvo. Now, when that happened, they lost a big part of the decision makers there. There's enough middle tier, basically vassals, to make decisions, but not if they don't unify under one name. They refuse to unify under Palak, who was once thought to be a very honorable and neutral, kind-hearted man, and me seeing what his familial problems have turned him into, a shell of his former self. The other Jarzoni moved to you, Vaelyn, and ask you to lead the delegation formally and return with them to Jarzon to oversee your choices. Only then will they okay military intervention of the other kingdoms into Jarzon lands in an effort to kick out these buccaneers. However, they are not in the Pirate Isles.
Do this, but only for 2 concessions. 1. Once the threat to Jarzon is done, I am going to return home, here to Aldis, where I will not be disturbed by Jarzoni problems again. That is concession 1. Concession 2. The Confessorship will no longer prosecute those who worship the primordials. Those are my terms.
If there's anything that we learned here, and he literally gestures over to the Rhydan Council, which has been there the whole time, and it's actually week 1's heroes, and it's going to be Kaida, Nadine, Cornelius J. Chimp, and Corvi. Haloed knights with 2 unicorns, just chilling. Not strong enough to send military delegation, but enough that if anybody were to attack them, just these 2 unicorns could seriously mess up some people, along with the Haloed Knights. These Rye creatures, they worship primordials such as these and gesture to these unicorns, which almost kind of are. A lineage of what came before. We've had misconceptions and prejudice towards those that we didn't understand, especially here in the land of Aldis and egalitarianism, which we don't espouse in our home territory. But we have learned a piece of tolerance, for without that, there would be no Aldea if these kingdoms did not unify. We accept. You will return once your mission is done, however long it may take, a year or 2 or 3. And the Confessorship will agree to stop prosecuting those that worship the primordials. And then he goes, and finally, the uncle that you used to know, a piece of him shines through. And he offers a bundle of grapes to Corvi from week 1. And is like, little haloed knight, may you and your primordial gods rest well and easy knowing that the Jarzoni theocracy is behind you. And offers food, and offers to break bread with the Rhydan Council. A piece of the uncle you loved shines, but I don't know if that's enough to break through your tough exterior.
He acknowledges it by having his eyes linger just a bit too long. But at the same time, his anger at his people, let alone his family, continues to keep that sour stone face. And the very idea of having to go back, cross that swamp, cross those rivers, to a land that, whilst beautiful, contains a great darkness within it, does not bring a smile to his face. But he is resolved to see this done, if for only a glimmer of good that may set things in the future to a more right place. And so he will accept the leadership, and then as soon as he is given this, just goes to the other delegations and goes, okay, so here's what we need. And it's like, okay, so we're going to need all of this military hardware for, the leg breakers and taking back land. But also, yes, any of your corrupt officials, if you don't know what to do with all their stuff, auction it off and give us the proceeds.
Just maximizing profits, like, and just doing every single thing to take care of the situation.
Yes, and once that gets hammered out, Vaelyn just looks to Shagar, Keen, Aspen, as Corvo has left for a grim but noble fate, whose words that we have not heard how that ended yet, but Weiss is safe due to his efforts. I want to thank each of you. If it were not for your efforts, your hearts, your nobility of character, none of this would be possible. Aldis stands because of you. And Jarzoni, a home I have long left, may once again become a home, not for myself, but for the generations after. For that, I thank you all.
I'm not one to speak highly of family, as I've been in the same room with mine. How many days has it been? Like 4 or 5? And have not interacted with
exactly.
mine once. I understand your plight, and I will endeavor to help you. And
Thank
you'll find what little help I can provide from afar when you make your journey back to your long forgotten home.
For your companionship and skill, I thank you.
So touching, like, oh my god. Jalen will address you. Sovereign Jalen will address you one time before you leave. This is definitely like the last crises. Jarzon is the last place that needs assistance, so all of the military is going there, but you're also taking care of all of the economic factors. Jalen knows that she's using you for a little bit, losing you for a little bit. She cries a single golden tear and says, "The energy of the golden heart is within this vial. If you ever lose your light, use this to return home. In your heart or with your body, we bless you." And like the rest of the finest salute, they bow to you and Jalen together, right? As of course you give thanks and bow to her as well. This is like peak for an Aldis citizen, as well as for even someone who was Jarzoni even, and wasn't even necessarily from Aldis. Doesn't really matter to the Blue Rose though, or in Aldis. You are what you do, and what you've done has been nothing short of spectacular. It seems like you leave along with the rest of the Jarzoni delegation on your way to solve the problem. As
when he leaves,
Uh-huh.
the little help Shagar was able to give was about 75% of her inheritance, which is a significant amount of money.
Yeah, the rest of your family looks on and starts like again, because your parents have now like joined at this point. You know, the rest of your longer extended family is there. They're kind of weeping as you have given off a majority of their vault, and their coffers are feeling empty right now. But the sovereign's finest are counseling them and patting them down, assuring them that their sacrifice will not be in vain, and they'll be maybe not equally, but somewhat compensated over time by Aldis, at least just by themselves. Um, as this money directly goes to Vaelyn. Um, Vaelyn, how do you feel about this cash?
Delighted. And
Thank you,
I am
monkeys.
well. Also, like he plans on doing something very specific with it, as I believe one of the basilicas that has been seized is going to be paid for with this money. And as part of the payment, the basilica is going to be renamed in Shagar's name. A monument to her and her generosity in Jarzoni lands, and a giant middle finger to her family.
Wow.
Birds of a feather.
If you can't live for love, live for spite.
Why can't they be one and the same?
Fair.
As Vaelyn finally trudges off, and that's kind of what happened in the after credits for Vaelyn building that. Um, Shagar, Keen, Aspen, you're all given exactly what you would have wanted if you could have had everything. As the Blue Plaza finally settles out, is opened, and allowed to leave, all crises taken care of, and no kingdom majorly hurt or destroyed, you've done the best possible option, and future weeks of the West Marches will thank you for having less fires to put out and more help. This was a huge session for later weeks. You will have your own titles, cash, land, estates, or not. Aspen is already getting a house in Lartian lands. Keen is already being offered Lartian higher castes and titles if she were to accept it or donate it to the cause of her choice, either whichever that Keen prefers. And Shagar, you get some cash back from Aldis eventually, but nothing to regain your status. However,
She
I've
lives in the
heard that
woods.
recently. I was gonna say I've heard that travel is cheap to Jarzon these days since they've been doing better, and maybe you could take a trip to your monument and see old Vaelyn, see what he's doing. We will cut it here for tonight, everybody, as we finish our third week JONQUIL, JONQUIL flower for Blue Rose. This was an amazing time, super political, very social, a lot of role playing, no combat really. And I just love seeing so many touching moments and deep speeches. I can't wait to talk to you all further later about what you want your characters to become after this and where we will see them next on in the later weeks. But this has been such a pleasure. My name was Anthony. It was a great pleasure to be the narrator for Blue Rose. You can also find me streaming on Weave the Tale every Monday for Symborum, 8:30 Eastern, 9 o'clock on Fridays for Blue Rose, and usually a one-shot on Wednesday. Next week being Shadows Over Soul that I'm running, and the week after that, the 23rd, being Masks. So 16 Shadows Over Soul, 23rd being Masks. That's what I'm up to. You can find me in Twitterverse at Prainntheplague, name that I have up here. But I just want to go back and reintroduce my amazing cast and their characters and get some of their final thoughts, starting with the same order we did last time. So, Mr. Smith.
Muted friend.
Yep.
Still muted.
I've been muted this whole time. I'm so sorry. I am Mr. Smith. I'm going to see if I can remember everything I just said because it was amazing. I'm Mr. Smith. I had the lovely chance to play Corvo the Seer of the Ravenswood, of the Order of the Ravenswood. I have thoroughly enjoyed every scene of this game. It was absolutely fantastic. Dido, man, I really loved our one-on-one. That was awesome. Just that banter that we had right there at the beginning, that was top-notch. I thoroughly appreciate Molly naming her character Aspen. Tree Captain will now be my forever favorite title. Keen was such a fantastic character, just a little pixie. I loved it. Yes, every time. I will always remember the mutants and masterminds. Just saying. You can find me at Mr._Smith on the Twitterverse, and Sunday evenings on our Penny for a Tale sister channel, playing Rune Ravenswood, which you will find some interesting connections back to Corvo, maybe, if you come and check out that show. We are playing Pathfinder 2e, Age of Ashes. I always save this for last whenever I get a chance to play. So, Anthony, I want to thank you for a fantastic game. This was a ton of fun. You are brilliant. Much, much appreciated. Yeah, this is great. I loved it. Thank you all very much.
It was a great outro. Damn, okay. Chills for the outro. All right, that's how it's gonna be. I know. I see. Next up, Pope. You know, no pressure on the follow up there.
No pressure at all. So one does not copy. One just respects. Hey everybody, Pope here. Popeworldbuild on Twitter, Popeworldbuild on Twitch. I lurk in all your streams. Aside from saying how wonderful it was to have worked with all these people who tell this fantastic story, if you want to see more of my ridiculous face, Good Doggos happen this Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, here on Weave the Tale, with Pugmire, What Lies Buried, along with Alicia and their amazing cast. If you want to find out more, just follow me on Twitter. And thank you all for being here, whether watching live on YouTube. A story is nothing without its audience. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. Have a fantastic evening, and follow these wonderful people. If there is nothing else I have learned in these past 2 years of isolation and stress, it's that you need good people in life, and these are all good people. Take care, everyone. See you next time.
Aw, thank you so much, Poe. Damn, never mind. It was chills. Like it. Okay, no, it just happened inadvertently. That's cool. Shagar, Dido, playing the amazing Shagar. What amazing cosplay! Who saved someone who was definitely planned to die and completely changed it for the better. And I love it so much. He had so much more military power, so
And it
much
was
more
somebody.
resources.
It was also an enemy, so I saved
Yeah.
an enemy.
Well, I mean, yeah, at first, and then they.
I mean, she's not. I didn't
weren't.
like her.
Yeah,
I didn't like her.
what it was is that she sucked.
Yeah.
No, you're completely correct. And that's awesome. So I'm really happy that you did. So Dido, what you got going on?
Yeah, I'm Dido. You can catch me on Twitter at Dido11. Tonight I played Shagar, who I am deeming the guardian angel, because she saved quite a few people tonight, even though she didn't have to use her daggers. And you can also catch me, I think, the 15th is a Tuesday. I will be here again doing a different one-shot. But you can catch me on my normal channels, Swindler's Den, where I play Rime of the Frost Maiden on Wednesday nights. My old lady Tabaxi, and then Thursday nights and Saturday nights I play with Rendis over on Party Wipe Games, where we are playing Wild Beyond the Witchlight and a homebrew. Those are really fun, and I'm loving them. And I can't wait to see what's going to come up for everybody. I loved all of like the cameos of characters past because I've been watching. So it's like, oh, Corvi, and all I want to say is shiny baby. And all of the tree jokes I was able to get because of Aspen was amazing. And I built Shagar for next week. So I was not expecting to play in a political party. I did not make a political character. So it was fun. It was interesting to figure out how to make her work and seem relevant. So it was interesting. It's nice.
Really did it, you know? It would have been a completely different session without Shagar, so I loved it. That was great. Next up, Alicia.
Oh, hey, that's me. I'm Leisha, or Penny Energy over on Twitch. Sunday night, you can find me over on my channel Sunday nights, either playing some kind of board game or more recently Monster Hunter Rise, but I play a variety of stuff. As mentioned before, earlier in the day, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, you can find me over on PubMire where I play a very, just a very, let's say, can see trouble coming, but it's gonna head towards it anyway. Doc soon. That's Sundays. Or you can also find me over at the Hollow Flames podcast. All that at Hollow Flame Pod. I'm character there is completely different. Still magically inclined, but completely different. Tune in to find out what that is. There's probably some things I'm forgetting, so in case for whatever I got, go ahead and follow me over at NNG98 over on Twitter. This session was super fun. Really loved it. Just getting just a lot of fun. Plain simple. Aspen was great, Corvo was great, Vaelyn was great, Shagar was great. It was all great. I'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Everybody did see how great it was. So, no, that was awesome. Thank you so much for being on. Keen was apparently, like Corvo said, was such a pixie. Was apparently the term used. So, is great. Just very ball of energy, very happy, and I love seeing that character stand in the face of such negativity with some of these people. So, that was great. And last but not least here, Molly, what you got going on?
Hi, I'm Molly. You can follow me on Twitter at ObviousRebelM. I don't have any other projects going on right now. You may see me around again eventually. Who knows? But I do want to thank everybody in the game. I had such a fantastic time. Um, it was GameMaster so well. It was set up so well, and all of the players were fantastic, and I had such a blast tonight. So thank you all so much. And I'm sorry for inflicting so many speeches on you.
No, thank you.
No,
I
you don't
needed more
apologize.
in my life. Exactly. Everybody's like, what's. I should frame each of them, is really what I should do. Again, nothing on right now, but maybe in the future, some 7Cs or wrestling, TRG, or both. So we'll see if we can do pirates or wrestling, or both. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That's everything we got for you tonight, everybody. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in to our wonderful stream. Look at that beautiful pride ship. I love it so much. Thank you for watching Read the Tale, and catch us next week, everybody.